Hello everyone, Blue Star Saber here once again to discuss a comic book superhero, but this time it is Superman, and for me, there's only one person I know that just about has nearly everything of knowledge to know there is about Superman, and here's him, and it's none other than the host of the NaruSaku Podcast, James S. Cassidy. Say hello, James.
Hello.
So, James, let's see. I've been thinking of having you on a stream after the One Punch Man stream we did a while back, but I was trying to recall what do I know that I have that I've at least looked at that you at least know about, and let's see, and that got me thinking. Superman.
Yes.
Yep.
The one here, my favorite comic book hero of all time.
Yep. No, not just any comic book hero. The first comic book hero, well, it was comic book superhero. There have been other comic book heroes before him, I think.
Yeah, the OG, the GOAT.
Yes. Let's see.
The man who defined what being a superhero is.
Yep.
I think some people will disagree with me.
Yeah, probably, but who knows? Let's see. But yes. So before we begin, why don't we ask, how did you get into Superman?
That's a real long story. So I originally started out watching, if anybody remembers, the '90s, the Superman the Animated Series.
Uh-huh.
Now, when I first saw that, I'm ashamed to say that I didn't get into the comics until a little bit after that series. But once I got into the comics, I started to realize how great a character Superman is. Not just on powers or anything like that, but just who he is as a person. You have the animated series, you have the Justice League. I know everyone, if you're a '90s kid, which I am, and you all grew up in the '90s, you'll know those shows pretty well.
Fair enough. Let's see. For myself, I grew up in the '90s with the Spider-Man, but when Batman and Superman won, I just was not interested. I'm one of the few people that just was not interested. It's kind of like how I'm one of the few people that got into anime manga, not through Dragon Ball, but through the big three.
Mm-hmm.
So they're sort of like that. I mean, I think I only really paid attention to Superman when, I first ended up meeting you. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, I was just like, I did not care about DC that much, but hey.
And I think I started changing your opinion about Superman on a few things.
Yes, in many ways you did, and I think you ended up making for me, you end up making him my favorite DC superhero, even though I don't really, follow the DC comics as much as I do the Marvel or Marvel media portrayal.
Yeah.
And
this is interesting, and we're going to discuss this a little bit later, I hope. Since Blue Star here is probably one of the biggest Spider-Man fans that I know of, and I'm one of the biggest Superman fans, I'm hoping we can go in discussion a little bit later about how so much similar these two characters are.
Oh, I'm sure we'll get some time to do that, but anyway. So, let's see, before we begin, I'm just going to get a sort of Superman image up because I just like sharing images, though, to be fair, I try to find images that were not copyrighted, and if they are copyrighted, I apologize. This is not my intention to profit from them and all that stuff. I'm just going to make that clear now. No hostile intentions.
And while you're doing that, I'll make an interesting, I'm going to make an interesting factoid for you Superman fans out there. Did you know that the Superman symbol is the #1 most recognized emblem logo in the world?
It is? I did not know that.
You know what's number 2?
What?
The Ghostbuster symbol.
Oh my god, I cannot believe it. No, that's just so random.
Yeah. But I'm going to put that factoid out there that if you were to go almost anywhere in the world and show them a Superman symbol, chances are they will probably know who that is.
Yeah, the symbol of Superman, as you can see on this image of Superman right here, the symbol S. Now, depending on what form of media portrayed, the S is supposed to stand for Hope on Krypton, I believe. Or the House of
Uh,
Kal-El.
um, depends on what history you want to go with Superman.
Fair enough.
I mean, are we in that discussion yet, or do you want me to?
No, let's see. But before we get to that, but I think we should probably talk a little bit about. Let's see the characters. I'm going to stop sharing this image now. Let's see the characters. Let's see. I suppose the first bit is the introduction to his origins in both the comics and creators. I mean, I believe we probably both know that Superman was created in 1938 by Joel Schumacher, and I'm trying to remember the other guy's name. Jerry, was it? Let's see. You know the creators, James? I'm trying to remember. Let's see.
Joe Schumacher and Jerry Siegel.
Yeah, Joe Schumacher and Jerry Siegel. Two Jewish immigrants who moved to America, I believe.
Joe Shuster, sorry.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so two Jewish immigrants that moved to America and began writing comics. They pretty much based, apparently, the character on their own experiences of what it's like to be alien moving into another world that they're not known or something like that. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe that. Okay. Moving from their own countries to America and all that stuff. So it's pretty much, in a way, as you could say, Superman is the modern tale of the immigrant trying to immigrate into America.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's a story, basically a home versus heritage.
Yeah. Which has pretty much been about Superman, bit of the Superman. He tries to hail the ideals of Krypton while trying to also be a representative of the world and America. Truth and justice in the American way. So like that. But for the origin of Superman, it's probably the most well-known in superheroes besides Batman's and Spider-Man's. Those two are a bit more similar. Where he is the last survivor, or supposed to be the last survivor, depending on, later editions, of Krypton, where his parents, have sent him into a rocket ship when he was just a baby, just as the planet was being destroyed. And they end up being... He ends up being grown up gets found and grown and raised in Smallville by the Kents. We'll get more into those two a bit later, but yeah. And then eventually he moves from Metropolis to become the symbol of truth, justice, and the American way, and a beacon of hope for Superman. Well enough, he ended up being introduced 1 year just before World War II, funny enough. Though, granted, I believe America did not join until 1940. Yeah, it was 1940, I believe. Was it 1941? I don't know. I'm a bit fuzzy on Americans' involvement in history of the war. But either way, in many ways, it was instantly a hit with, I believe, children around America, and ended up being one of the, comic book superheroes they ended up rooting for against the, and when he battled Nazi Germany and all that stuff in the publishing.
Yeah. Well, I think we need to understand that because of the World War going on, because this was just going on right after World War I, and we're going right back into World War II, and the world was just dark and bleak. And this is why the birth of superheroes, starting with Superman, obviously, started to become a popular thing, because the people needed something to look up to, a hope, an idea, so to speak. And the comic books, they did this for kids, for adults, for everybody. I mean, even the soldiers overseas would read these things.
Yes, the golden age of comics, in which people would follow the adventures of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Captain America. No, Captain America is Marvel. Sorry, but yeah, go on.
Yeah. But it's still an influence, you know? And I think that's the important part about this is why comic books have been so influential over the years, and why I think in our modern times why people have forgotten that, and they're kind of using them more, I guess, right intentions, but the wrong way of doing it, so to speak. But this is really not a discussion about that. I'm just pointing out the fact that this is the reason why comic books exist in the first place. This is why stories exist in the first place. Um,
Uh-huh.
it's no different to like Greek mythology, and how you have the heroes like that. Even though
In many
I
ways, it's
question
the
it, but
it's the Americans' modern mythology, the American version of mythology. Though the exception, the difference is you can actually tell that these are intended fictional characters compared to
yeah,
like the Greek myths, which may or may not have happened to some extent.
yeah,
But yeah, and modern day stories. In many ways, you probably also say that Superman is probably also the basis of many of the noble heroes that you see throughout, let's see, both Western and maybe to some extent Eastern media, depending on how much they're
yeah,
exposed to comics, such as Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, Harry Potter, with let's see, J.K. Rowling's books, and maybe even some of the shonen protagonists you get now and then. Well, before they
yeah,
get written badly, but I'm not going into that. But not yet,
yeah.
anyway.
But
But
you,
anyway,
but you all can notice that whatever story you read about superheroes, even in manga or in other media or even movies, like Superman has played a big influence in all of it. I mean, it's kind of a trickle down effect, and I would argue that some of the more successful ones were closer to following Superman's idealism than, say, Iron Man's or even Captain America's idealism.
well, I will say Captain America is pretty close to Superman in terms of ideology, at least, of what at
I,
least the American ideal is supposed to be. But
I somewhat agree, but
fair enough.
this will be a discussion later.
Fair enough.
I'm going to discuss this one a little bit later in the
Okay.
show.
Anyway, I suppose we should get to his supporting characters, and I think I've already mentioned these two. Let's see before. Let's see. Hold on, let me just getting the image, just getting the image ready. Let's see. I'm just going to share screen. Like I say, I don't no intended of harmful copyright and all that stuff. But yeah, let's see. But there's perhaps some of the most well-known supporting characters, at least among the first, are the Kents, Jonathan and Martha Kent, the adopted parents of Superman, who found him as a boy, as we mentioned earlier, and raised him in Smallville. In a sense, you could say they're like the Uncle Ben or the Waynes for Batman, at least. Though for most part, they usually end up being alive, though there are a few exceptions. But yeah. So, what can you tell me about the Kents, James boy?
Okay, so the Kents, farmers living. They were farmers that lived a very humble life in Kansas, and they were very down to earth people, sort of stereotypical Americans, you could say, back in the day. Very very humble, didn't have much money, but lived a meaningful life, and um um for some odd reason, and it's never really explained too well in any of the stories, they really couldn't conceive a child. And this is when they found the space pod that crashed into Earth and found their new son, adopted son Clark, in it.
Yeah.
Little did they know that he was a superpowered alien baby, but they weren't going to tell anybody that.
Yeah, because they loved him anyway. Because he was just so adorable as a baby, probably. Then again, all babies are adorable.
Yeah. But the whole with great power comes great responsibility?
Yeah, the defining characteristics of Spider-Man.
Yeah. This is where this started. Because Paul Kent, Jonathan Kent, he gave Clark the same speech.
Mm-hmm.
Very,
Well,
very, very simple, very similar, but a little bit differently. He told Clark that he has gifts that no one else has, and with these gifts, you're going to be defined in how you use them. You
mm-hmm.
could save the world, you could destroy it if you wanted to, but the actions that you do is what defines you. Or with great power comes great responsibility.
Fair
kind of
enough.
thing. But uh, and I'm going to quote the movie here in this one because it's also very similar. I mean, the speech alters, but I like the Man of Steel one. Is though you got to decide what kind of man you want to be, Clark, because whoever that man is going to change the world,
Fair enough.
and it's true.
Fair enough. Anyway, out of the two Kents, if one of them or both of them end up being dead, it usually ends up being Jonathan Kent, the father figure, as you will.
Yeah.
Usually either of old age, heart attack, or some sort of tornado crashing and killing him.
Yeah.
We're
I
gonna
like the
get
heart attack. I like the heart attack one better because um it shows that Clark, with all his powers, can't save everybody. And that was the first time he had he got shown real weakness. No matter how powerful you are, you can't stop everything.
hmm Let's see. I believe the heart attack one is in the first Superman movie and the pre-52 but post-crisis Superman story of Brainiac, which started the new Krypton storyline. Let's see. In which, when you first introduced to Brainiac and during the battle there, let's see, Jonathan Kent suffers a heart attack and dies. But yeah. Let's see. But yeah. So what kind of role would you say Martha Kent has? Let's see, whenever, when either Jonathan's alive or when he's gone. Usually the last emotional support or something, or what would you say?
She's usually alive through most of it. Kind of like she's like the Aunt May.
Oh yeah.
Um, whenever Superman has moments of confusion or anything, he usually goes back to his mother and asks her, and not that he doesn't give her, not that she doesn't give him the answer, but rather she helps him find an answer. Because again, it's supposed to, it's his connection to the human race because she is human, and she's very simple, down to earth, like I said, and she just tells it like it is, and then Superman makes a judgment call based on that. I mean, there's so many examples I can give, and we'll be here all day if I try to do that. So, but
fair enough. I'm just setting up the images for the next two. Well, granted, there'll probably be more characters than these two, but these are the only two I bothered to find images of.
yeah. But I will make this one thing in that Martha Kent was the one to actually make Superman's original outfit.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's
using the blankets that he was found in.
Yeah. Usually, I think Superman first he finds it kind of lame, but grows into him and all that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there've been a few changes of how it's looked now and then, but it's always the red and blue. But anyway, the next two supporting cast I want to talk about is when Superman moves to Metropolis, and and two of the most famous is best friend in the Daily Express, is Daily Planet, Jimmy Olsen, and his boss Perry Wright. These are the images. These were the best images I could find of the two, and hopefully they're not copyrighted. Yeah,
Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
This guy does not get enough credit.
Fair enough. Care to explain?
Okay, so originally Jimmy doesn't seem that much, but Superman trusts him with his life to the point that he actually does give Jimmy a watch that every time he hits it, Superman knows that he's needed.
Yeah. Or he's in danger, but yeah.
Even when he's 25 light years away.
In many ways, he's like his first, what I can tell in most origin stories, he's usually Superman's, or Clark Kent's first real friend in Metropolis.
Yeah. And probably one of Superman's biggest fans.
Yeah. He's probably the inverse version of the fan that's in the comic books. Now, for Batman, it's an alternate reality warp bending person, but hey, that's a bit too into it, but hey. Into the cosplaying, but yeah.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I believe Jimmy sometimes gets superpowers himself, mostly during the golden and silver age of comic books, right?
Sometimes.
But yeah. And Perriart is probably the prototype for J. Jonah Jameson, though. I think he's a lot more positive to his superhero than J. Jonah Jameson ever is with Spider-Man.
Yep.
Well, usually, but yeah.
He's not as money hungry, I should say. He's not trying to like disprove Superman. He's actually more just trying to like, he's
Running a paper.
Yeah, he's more like I want to be the first to have this information, but he's also not trying to slander Superman. I want to make this very clear because there is a difference. He's not like oh, I need to like make Superman out to be a villain because that's going to sell me more papers. No, he knows that like I want to take advantage of the situation, but I also want to tell the truth,
Yeah.
which is very I guess
Rare these days.
Yeah.
Fair enough. He does seem to be one of the more newspapers with journalists with integrity, as I think many of the stories say that before Superman comes in, well, he's probably the most honest and probably one of the few that's actually critical of Lex Luthor whenever you have Lex Luthor controlling most of Metropolis's things and media and all that stuff. He's the only one that doesn't, but as a result, he ends up, the paper nearly ends up collapsing. It's not until Superman arrives, in fact, that Lois and Jimmy are the only ones that can take pictures or get interviews with him, at least at first. His paper becomes the biggest hit in, Metropolis. But yeah. Are there any other Metropolis cast you want to talk about that you know of that you think are quite essential for the mythology, or you think those are just those two?
I mean, not really. There are a few people that can become more significant, but you don't hear them a lot. You think that you would, but they basically become irrelevant, and most people don't know anyway. So
they're more of just pop up here and there kind of characters. Is that what you're referring to?
There's what's his name? There's a doctor. There was a doctor character that very good friends with Superman, and he usually helps with.
Are you referring to the one
like
that
medical?
was portrayed in the DC animated universe, right? Is that the one?
Yeah. If you remember who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know that he was at least in the animated version. He was a friend of Superman's, but once Superman got a bit too angry at him, he ended up turning against him.
Yeah,
kind of thing. I think that might have happened once in the comics, but let's see.
But there is a couple of times where, like, when Supergirl fell ill, he was there to help and helped him with like surgeries and stuff like that.
All right,
but he's kind of lost to obscurity now. He's not really mentioned that often anymore. So often that I can't even remember his name, which is sad.
Yeah. Let's see. So I guess that ends up leaving us, for the next lot of, supporting characters are the Kryptonians. Let's see. So yeah, the Kryptonians, in other words, Krypton is pretty much to explain Superman's powers, why he's so strong, why he can fly, why he can do heat vision. Breath is that he's from another planet.
Yeah.
And his perhaps two most famous are his parents, Connell and Jor-El, is it?
No, Connell's the wife.
Oh,
Jor-El is the
my mistake.
his father.
I was pointing mouse in the wrong ones, but yes.
Yeah.
Let's see. From my understanding, Jor-El is often the scientist, while Connell is like the diplomat or something like that, or at least maybe another scientist. I don't know. It really depends. I just know that science is a very big thing in Krypton.
I mean, which ones are we talking about? We want to do pre-crisis, post-crisis, modern age.
You can talk about each of them, but yeah, we can talk about each of the portrayals. But
they don't really like change all that much. I mean, Jor-El is always portrayed as the scientist / doctor on Krypton that warns the planet about it. about its imminent destruction because they overmine the planet, or because the sun is destroying, or something like that. There's always
Or
a
Brainiac. Sorry.
well, Brainiac was the AI system that
Yeah.
Krypton usually had. Though in some stories, Brainiac did lead to the actual destruction of Krypton in some cases.
And
There was also the fact that Brainiac kind of was just like didn't really help do it, but he just kind of lied about it and said, "Oh yeah, Krypton's fine." No, it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But yeah, scientist that warns Plant doesn't believe him, think he's crazy.
Yeah.
In many ways, you could say his plan to send his son on a rocket ship to a faraway planet does seem a bit extreme, but hey.
Yeah. There's also a story that there's also a few stories with Jor-El that he originally went to Earth first, sending probes to Earth first because he knew.
But yeah.
What's up?
And I believe some animals from Krypton there as well, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah.
Yeah, crypto. But yeah, there was a couple of like missions to Earth prior before Superman going there. Supergirl was sent before Clark. Jor-El sent probes down there. Jor-El even did this one weird story where he mind swapped with somebody else and like was looking at the Kents. And this was the time that he knew the Krypton planet was going to blow up, and that he was looking for a family to take care of his son, and found the Kents because he found them to be the best representation of humanity.
I see.
You know, so there's a lot of stories like that.
I do know that in certain stories, you have Superman land in the wrong place where not the Kents are, and when he ends up being raised, he becomes even a bit more of a dark anti-hero, or even conquering villain. But we'll probably get that in some of the media portrayals and all that stuff of Superman.
Yeah. And there's a great story where the Waynes find Clark Kent instead of the Kents.
Oh, that is interesting. But yeah.
So.
Now, I do believe that the most recent portrayal of Jor-El is that he's alive and is now a villain to Superman, I believe. This was done with the DC Rebirth, I believe.
Yeah, which I think is very stupid.
It's like, I am your father! But yeah.
Going with the Star Wars thing, aren't we? I don't know. For some reason, Star Wars has become a big hit lately. With evil parents.
Let's see. Wow. Let's see. Star Wars has always been a bit.
They fucking turned Jor-El into Palpatine.
With the Darth Vader twist, but yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's go off to some. Since we mentioned animals, let's go with. Oops, wrong image. Let's see. Krypto, the super dog.
Yes.
Let's see.
Originally, Clark's, or I should say, Kal-El, as his Krypton name would be. Originally, Kal-El's family dog.
Uh-huh.
I won't lie to you. Jor-El was kind of in the original renditions. He was kind of well, you guys know scientists throughout history, how they tested on animals first before testing it on humans.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. This was actually the test of sending someone to planet Earth. Was he sent Krypto first to see if it would make it?
Uh-huh. And I take it since he did, but no one opened the pod. Let's see. He stayed. Let's see. So he then decided, okay, I'm going to now send my son.
Yep. Essentially.
And I take it I think it depends on which version and which, time period. You either have Superman find him when he's a, small boy, teenager, or as an adult, right?
Yeah. Or, more specifically, he actually finds Krypto in the original story, and like this is pre-Crisis, so this is like Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age Superman. He originally finds Krypto when he's more of a teenager.
Okay.
And just starting out as Superboy, not Superman. And that there's a story where it's before he fully becomes Superman in Metropolis, and he's Superboy in Smallville. So there's more of a story that's in between there. That later rendition of Superman, they kind of skip over that. But in the original one, there was a time when he was Superboy and he would just do missions, and then that's when he finds Krypto.
Yeah, and he's one of his goofy companions. I believe there are also some other Kryptonian animals that also became superheroes, but they're mostly been forgotten over time, right?
Yeah, or they just kind of like retcon them out. So like there was originally a cat too.
I think there was also a cow or a horse, maybe a giraffe or a monkey, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Krypto, despite perhaps maybe not something you would probably create in modern times for Superman, he still managed to stay about, and he's been a bit of an iconic fan favorite of himself, I believe.
Yeah.
Right?
He even got his own TV show.
Yeah. I think I only ran like 2 or 3 seasons, but hey.
I mean, inspired Batman to make his dog into Bat Dog. So think about that for a second.
Bat Hound, yes.
Bat Hound.
Yeah. Either way, but yeah. But they're the only ones that actually have a dirty superhero pets.
Thank God they didn't go with a raccoon.
Oh, that would be
Raccoon.
Yeah.
Wait.
But the most famous of Superman's supporting cast is his cousin, Kara Zor-El, yeah, also known as Supergirl.
Mm-hmm.
Often,
Supergirl. In some universes, also known as Power Girl.
Yeah, let's see, Power Girl for some sort of powerful reasons. Let's just say.
Yeah. So the story with Supergirl is that she was also sent, but her pod got trapped in the gravitational field of the sun. So technically, she's more powerful than Superman, but she has no control. She doesn't have the same control as Superman does.
In many ways, you could say it's like she has the more raw power, but Superman's the more experienced.
Yeah. But this gap doesn't stay that long because Superman eventually does become more powerful.
Yeah. I do often wonder, whenever they try to make evil Superman stories, they always try to have to make Batman be the one to try and beat him, or an alternative version of Superman, alternative world of Superman. Sometimes I just wonder, why not just get Supergirl to try and do it at least? Or at least have her team up with Batman? Or at least know Superman, but anyway, go on.
They did.
Let's see, but yeah, we'll get to that in a bit later.
Yeah.
Let's see, but yeah.
There's a few stories.
Now, let's see. Now, granted, the interesting thing about Supergirl, let's see, she was introduced in the Silver Age, right? Or was it, I believe, right? Or if I'm getting or was she in the Golden Age? I can't recall.
She was originally in the Silver Age that she was introduced.
Fair enough.
In fact, the first time that Supergirl was introduced in the Silver Age, and because this is very predominant, Superman had to chase her across the universe.
Yeah.
And
the protective, big brother-like figure, if you will.
Yeah. And he chased her so fast. And yes. He chased her so far and so fast that they both were about to break the entire universe of reality.
Wow.
Until what's his name?
Is it one of the new gods or
No, I should know this.
I mean, I did come to you because you're the expert, but hey.
I'm so bad with names.
Was it some sort of like Watcher figure that you do have for Marvel, or? No, I'm not sure if I'm helping.
No,
Oops. It's my alarm. Don't worry, it's just something I usually put.
This is gonna kill me.
Let's see if I can find it while looking up Supergirl.
The Spectre. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
He lifted Spectre. The Spectre, he's essentially God. Um,
Hmm.
although that's a wrong one. The Spectre, he's essentially
I believe
the
Spirit of Vengeance, from what I can recall from The Brave and the Bold.
yeah. Sort of. I mean, again, different depictions on different media, but originally he's basically if you consider Jesus Christ to God, then Spectre is to the Presence, which is basically DC's God,
Okay.
um, the one above all, or you know, that kind of thing.
Hmm. I don't know that Hal Jordan at some point becomes the Spectre, but that's an entirely different story, and different character, and different thing to talk about
Yeah,
entirely. Yeah.
yeah, he's basically the herald of the Presence. Yeah,
Hmm.
and the Spectre had to stop Superman and Supergirl because he says, if you're going to keep doing this, you're going to break reality. You're going to break it. And I
Uh-huh.
can't have you break it.
Yeah. So one thing that I do know about Supergirl, that one thing interesting about her publication history, let's see, for most part, well, she is usually Kryptonian, but after post in Infinite Crisis, when they decide to sort of reboot their sort of universe, DC universe in a sense, she ended up, the original Supergirl ended up dying in it, and they ended up stop making her being like, and they ended up either having her not exist or have her anything but Kryptonian, right? In fact, I think there was even some other characters that portrayed Supergirl, like
Yeah.
an alien, or she comes from a different planet than Krypton, or that's very
Or
similar.
she was a girl they implanted Kryptonian DNA in, or, anything, that kind of thing. They kind of,
Because they kind of wanted, let's see, Superman to be the only Kryptonian last survivor of Krypton again.
yeah. But I mean, but they could do it in ways that he's not he is the last son of Krypton, not the last survivor of Krypton,
Yeah.
because there's a big difference. I mean, you can get away with saying, "Oh, he's the last son of Krypton." Yeah, he's the last Kryptonian to be ever born on
Yeah,
Krypton. Like
last son of Krypton can mean, let's see, multiple things.
yeah,
But yeah, that does seem to be the case. I mean, sometimes you have other Kryptonian survivors that are often trapped by Brainiac in a jar, and I think let's see, one of the capitals of it. Let's see, I think even Supergirl's parents are in there, and depending on which let's see portrayal of them, sometimes can be allies or even villains for Superman and Supergirl.
yeah,
For example, I know that her mother was one of the main villains in the new Krypton storyline before pre-52, and I think her father post 52 ended
hmm
up becoming cyborg Superman.
her aunt in the modern age.
Yeah. What's up with this? Yeah, it's like, what's up with like turning Superman and Supergirl's parents into villains? I don't get it.
I, I don't know.
But yeah.
But this is across all of them. Like they always have to have, oh, if there's a good son, there has to be a bad son. Like
Yeah. But yeah.
it's boring. It's all played. Do
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah. But eventually DC decide, you know what, let's just bring back the original Supergirl, and you've had her ever since. In fact, I believe her first reappearance was in the Batman and Superman crossover storyline, which later got adapted into a movie. And that's probably and she was one of the most recent portrayals, though I think that Supergirl no longer exists, and it's now the pre-52 merged with Rebirth now, since they sort of merged those two timelines together, kind of thing. But yeah.
Yeah. I think what I love most about Supergirl was when they're portrayed her as basically an otaku.
Otaku.
Yeah.
How so? Is that when you mean by otaku? Do you mean what? She's a collector, or could you elaborate on that for a moment,
Um.
James?
Okay, so like she'll make references. There's a couple times where they're fighting. Uh, where they're fighting like a creature. That has like tentacles and stuff like that, and she'll make a comment like, "What is this? Some kind of Japanese anime?" Like, and nobody else has any idea what she's talking about. Like even Wonder Woman, like, was like, "What the hell, Japan? What are you talking about?" She's like, "Nothing. I'll explain later." But they always make her like this comic book savant for some reason. or like she's more into like what we're into. She'll be in the comic book. She'll be into video games. She'll be into this, because I mean, believe it or not, even though she technically is older chronologically than Clark, she's still younger. She's still only a teenager
Oh yeah.
in mentality because she's been in cryostasis for 40 years.
Yeah.
Like
I remember how Jordan, when the first relaunched the Brave of the Bold storyline that I ended up getting from a DC collection, and I kept reminding himself that she's 17 or something, which is like, okay, getting a bit creepy there, Hal Jordan, but still, but yeah. And the point, she's usually 17 or 18. But yeah, it's age-wise, though, I'm not sure, but yeah. But go on. I just made this weird. James?
what?
Oh, sorry. You were making a point about her age.
It's just her because this plays along with her characters that she's that teenager representation. Um and it really has nothing to do with like her gender or anything like that. It was just they always portrayed her as a younger, headstrong kind of person, and Clark always has to like kind of like knock her down a few pegs, but she's always like rebellious and that kind of thing, and it always gets her in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, this is going to sound a little random, but apparently one of the versions of her, Kara Zor-El, was created by Jerry Conway.
yeah,
But anyway, sorry. So I just know him for killing off Gwen Stacy, but yeah. So she's like the rebellious girl.
yeah,
I believe she also serves to give, let's see, Kal-El. In many ways, she's also a bridge for Kal-El to learn a bit more about his homeworld of Krypton. While he often gets like the crystals that his father sent her, she's the one that's often experienced it, so he can learn quite a bit more just from her experiences of Krypton. At least from what I can tell, right? Did I make sense? Did I just mumble, or did that make sense, or did I just mumble too much?
no, you're fine.
Enough, but yeah.
It's just, it's just Supergirl's a bit iffy on me.
Fair enough.
I mean, there's some versions I like about her, some I don't. Some that I find very interesting. Some of them are just plain annoying,
Fair enough.
And my God, I hate the TV show.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into that just about yet, but anyway. One last Kryptonian, or sort of Kryptonian. I mean, let's see. Technically, I guess you could say is Superboy or Connell.
Yeah.
Often portrayed as the clone of Superman with Lex Luthor's DNA.
Yep.
I believe he first came about during the death of Superman, and Lex Luthor at the time cloned him, right?
Sometimes. That was the original idea.
Mm-hmm. That's
when everyone was looking for a Superman.
Yeah. We'll get more into that a bit later, but yeah, he's like the... Let's see. I suppose you could technically, but since he's a clone, you can either regard him as like a son or a brother, which I think that's more of his preferred, let's see, for Superman, as like a little brother kind of thing. You're sort of like Superman, but a little bit more edgy, from what I can tell. If that's correct, right?
I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry. I'm being very rude right now, but my job for some reason is calling me in a frantic.
Okay. Let's see. I hope they're not telling you to come and work right now because we're in the middle of something. But yeah. So Connell.
Connell. Most associated because they needed a Teen Titan. A Superman for Teen Titans.
Yeah. Because Superman technically did not really have sidekicks unless you kept, and Supergirl wasn't really a sidekick. Okay, maybe sort of she was, but sidekicks was more of Batman's thing. But yeah, I can see why they had him as a Titan. In many ways, his behavior is a bit more for the Titans because he's a bit more rebellious than Superman.
Yeah. He's basically the Kara Zor-El but he's even younger.
Yeah.
And he has a very hard, you know, he has a very hard father complex because he technically has two dads.
Oh yeah.
And he has to decide which one he has to follow, which is either Lex Luthor or Superman. And it's a very stereotypical story of, you know, one parent wants me to do one thing, the other parent wants me to do another thing, which is the right course.
Of course, one of those parents treats him more like a brother, but allows him to be a part of the Kent family, and have Jonathan and Martha Kent as his actual parents, kind of thing. But yeah. But I would say probably at least probably Connor Kent or Superboy often goes with Superman because Lex Luthor ends up trying to control him now and then. But yeah. So like that. But yeah. So yeah. Anyway. Are there any other Kryptonians that we mentioned? That there is one more, but I think we should probably get to him when we get to the villains.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of
Mhm.
other Kryptonians that I again. I mean, we can bring up the Kryptons that were in the Phantom Zone.
Oh yeah.
There was a one-off shoot of random Kryptonians that came to Earth thinking they could overtake it, and then ended up dying. And then Superman sent them to the Phantom Zone because they would live forever there, and it was a different kind of Kryptonians. And we technically Doomsday is a Kryptonian in some cases because he was also used with Superman's DNA.
It's a primal one, but yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I mean, there's a few of them.
Yep. Anyway, I think we're now going to get into perhaps one of the most controversial topics. At least, maybe it depends on who you ask of Superman. His love interests. There are three that I know of, but.
And what's the three you know of?
Let's see, the three most famous. Well, two are more. Let's see. The three most famous are Lois Lane, Lana Lang, and depending on which version, Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. I actually kind of really liked the differentials on this one, but we also had Superman get with a mermaid one time.
Oh yeah, I remember that. But yeah. So Lois Lane, as far as I can tell, has been. We'll probably start with Lois Lane because she's perhaps the most famous and most iconic because she appeared in the very first issue of Superman.
Yeah,
she's his fellow journalist and sort of rival kind of thing when Clark Kent first goes into journalists in the Daily Planet. Let's see. The main thing with I believe Lois Lane and Superman is that it's sort of like a love triangle within himself. Is where Clark Kent likes Lois Lane, but Lois Lane likes Superman. And while Superman likes Lois Lane, he decides that he can't really be with her, but still tries to get with her with Clark Kent and stuff. It's sort of like that kind of thing. It's like you're in a love triangle with yourself.
Yeah.
That's rough, buddy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is about Lois Lane is she's actually been portrayed in many different ways. She has always been this knack of doing the report. Obviously, she's the reporter. She wants to get the scoop. She's all this. And she has a friendly competition with Clark because he's the farm boy,
And she's the city girl.
Kent, you're a weird one, farm boy, And she calls him that a lot. And I still remember the joke in the animated series, like, Kent, how are you always getting all the good scoops? He's like, well, Lois, he goes, I'll tell you the truth, I'm secretly Superman in disguise, and I'm always on the scene first, so I'm always getting it and leaving you out of the byline. And she's like, you got a sick sense of humor, Kent. And he goes, you asked. Turns out he was telling the truth.
Yeah. Let's see. there are times when she suspects, but just can never come to believe it until he actually reveals his identity to her, I believe, right? That's often how it ends up going with Superman. She just cannot seem to believe that Clark Kent and Superman are one and the same.
Yeah.
Let's see. She's often, in many ways, she's often the main portrayal of the love interest for comic books, and often like the original power couple. I mean,
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think of her, let's see, her relationship with Superman is just too iconic to ignore.
Yeah.
Well, of course, she's not just, let's see, I'd say, no, of course, let's see. Well, at times, yes, you could say she could end up being a damsel in distress, depending on which medium, which portrayal, which usually ends up probably being something like the Silver Age or something. But
Yeah.
her no nonsense.
And villains have taken advantage of this.
Yeah. But she's always confident that Superman will save her and all that stuff, or she can get out herself. But yeah. But she's quite confident, and she's probably one of the only few individuals that can get under Lex Luthor's skin, from my understanding.
Oh, yeah.
And she's one of the few journalists that won't put up with his BS, which, funny enough, he ends up banning her from, let's see, conferences and all that stuff. But yeah.
I will say that I feel a little bad for Clark sometimes that he has to put up with her. Because there are a couple of times where it's like, Lois, you know this is going to end up badly, and you go in anyway. And there's a couple of times where he'll say, it's your story or your life. Which one is more important? And she'll be like, both. And it's like, girl, really?
But I guess it's that strong determination that got Superman attracted to her.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably why often many people say she's the perfect match. Her strong will, her sense of integrity, and all that stuff, etc., etc.
Yeah. There's one version of Lois I love so much. It's a thing called Superman Unbound, and the reason why I bring this up is because it's such a great portrayal of her.
Is that the Brainiac storyline one?
Yeah, and Brainiac, like, he has her in a jar, and Brainiac is like, your Earth defenders are paltry. Your people are powerless. Or what are you gonna do about it? What does she do? She flips him off.
It's just curious, like, what is she doing? But yeah,
yeah, and I'm just like, yes, that's a woman.
And for most part, she's ended up with oh yeah, I should probably mention this. This is her kid with Superman, but we'll get to that in a minute. Mm-hmm. One thing that one thing I often, from my understanding, from like the Golden Age to Silver Age, I think due to like the creators Jerry and Joel Schumacher, who feel like that the comics would become stale if she ever found out his secret identity or ended up going into an actual full-on relationship with Ken Clark kind of thing. In other words, they're sort of on the mind of Superman and Lois Lane must never get together, or just not get together, or anyone in general.
Yeah.
But I think post-crisis, they gave Clark Kent the more confident like persona mixed with his Superman, and she started to notice him, eventually getting married, and eventually going to get married, and that's when he reveals her identity to her. She accepts it and all that stuff. Granted, he ends up dying, marriage gets called off a bit, but in, I believe, 1996, which is, I think, the Superman and Lois show of the time, was that Smallville, or was it the follow-up to Smallville, whatever. They end up getting married, and the comics finally decide to marry them. I think, depending on which version of the comics, they can't have kids due to him being an alien and her being a human kind of thing. But eventually, of course, they do end up getting a kid, and particularly doing DC Rebirth, particularly the pre-52 Superman comes back, and it's Superboy Jonathan Kent. This little fella here. Mm-hmm. Well, granted, I believe he's now a teenager in the comics because time travel, blah, blah, blah. Comic book nonsense, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, the one reason why they couldn't have a kid in the first place was because, well, as Larry Nevin described it, Man of Steel, Woman of Kleenex. He'd break her. So the only way that they ever could have kid was that Superman had to lose his powers for a bit.
Oh yeah, which I believe ended up happening in the World Without the Man Tomorrow, the Alan Moore story. But I can't remember one. But it's usually when Superman gives up being Superman, or Superman becomes a god and makes Lois a god, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I do believe that they did end up adopting Zod's kid for a while, though that was pre-52, and now he's pro Zod now. But yeah. But they decide, but since but as DC decided, okay, we've kind of screwed up with 52. Let's bring back the old Superman. They brought back the relationship with Lois Lane and end up having a kid, and that's like kid from another. Superman from another world. But then of course they merge the two timelines together, and then it's like thing. Now, I don't know much about him, but I do know that it's something that people have always wanted to see, a Superman raising a son or daughter or something, and like that.
Yeah,
I did like the stories of where he interacted with Damien Wayne. But yeah,
it's a very interesting dynamic. Side note here, John Ken here, who that's what this character's name is. He's a Naruto fan.
Oh yeah, I think I saw so Wally West is also a Naruto fan from a comic book resources article.
Yeah.
But
there's an actual panel where like they're looking into John's bedroom and there's a poster of Naruto in the back.
Oh yeah, you do sometimes get that. On one hand, though granted, pre-2014 of me would be excited whenever Naruto's referenced in some other media. Now I'm just like, But we're not here to discuss our misgivings of what Naruto ended up being. But yeah, we're here to discuss Superman. But yeah. Anyway, one thing I kind of want to bring up with at least Lois Lane before we move to Lana Lang is that often with her, you end up getting two other characters, one to sometimes supporting or sometimes villains. Her sister and her father, Sam Lane, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Now, from what I can tell, Sam Lane, from what I can tell, is either currently military or ex-military general, who's very disapproving of her daughter's choices of lifestyles and the men she ends up getting with and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
While the sister is younger, often looks up to her, but is also got a father complex as well, and sometimes is a bit envious of her. Or at least in like one of the versions, because I know she ends up being a villainous Superwoman for a while, helping her father, during the new Krypton storyline.
You're also forgetting someone else.
Okay, her mother. I don't know her mother's name, so.
No. Lois Lane's cousin.
Oh, Lois Lane's cousin. I did not know she had a cousin.
Yep. Take a guess who it is.
It sounds like a character I should know. Is it Hal Jordan's love interest, Carol Danvers?
No.
Okay.
Chloe Sullivan.
Chloe Sullivan. What does that name sound familiar?
Probably remember the name originally from Smallville.
Oh, okay. So then I probably won't know. But okay, so she actually does have some ties to Superman's Smallville thing. That's interesting.
But in the original, she's Lois Lane's cousin, and she actually falls in love with Jimmy Olsen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is an interesting thing. Even though they kind of changed her up too, so that to the point that now she's somewhat related, but she also has a thing for Clark. But Clark never had a thing for her.
It's making another love interest thing. But anyway,
she's more of a newer character that they've added in.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I mostly know. Sam Lois from the pre-52 post-crisis, of which he's hostile towards Superman, and eventually ends up destroying New Krypton and all the survivors from Brainiac's thing. Then ends up shooting himself to not be tried for war crimes, and with most people saying he's a hero, but only Lois Lane saying, "Yeah, my father's a villain," kind of thing. But yeah.
Yeah.
Often, let's see, partnering up with Lex Luthor to try and take down Superman, or trying to find someone else that he thinks is better for Lois Lane. But yeah, sort of like the, let's see, your stereotypical, let's see, control-lift father, I guess you could say. Anyway, I suppose we should move on to the next, let's see, of the big three love interests, Lana Lang.
Lana Lang, the high school sweetheart.
Yes, I believe. I'm not. Was she created in the Golden Age? I believe, or doing the Superboy series or something. She's often like Superman's kind of like first love or first fling.
She was the high school sweetheart
Yeah.
that Superman had. Childhood friend, pre-crisis. She was basically the love interest when he was Superboy. The moments of Superboy. This is what I say. There's this whole thing that's different with later Superman stories that not many people have read, but you know, like I said, there's this whole like during his high school years, he was a superhero then too in the original timeline. And during this time, this is before he went to Metropolis too. So and he had a love interest, Lana Lang, high school, and they had a fling, and she was actually the first one to figure out that he was Superman.
Yeah. Or at least the one that at least reveals her powers to first before, let's see, going to his parents at least. But yeah, she's often like, I believe, portrayed as in love with him, but Clark doesn't really feel the same or doesn't feel that as strongly, and she usually gets upset.
Yeah, and she kind of grew distant. They kind of grew distant from each other.
Yeah. And she eventually reconnects to him when she either visits Metropolis or stays there, and ends up becoming ends up being a sort of love triangle with Superman when it's not for Superman and Lois Lane.
Yeah.
Not like that. But usually you end up having Superman choose Lois over her.
Superman basically has a harem. And they all work for the Daily Planet.
All the rivaling publishing companies, but yeah.
And technically, we can also add a very brief moment where Jimmy Olsen was actually Superman's love interest too.
Okay, that is a very, very interesting story.
Yeah, and it all involves pink kryptonite.
Okay, so I take it this turns Superman gay.
Gay, yes.
Oh, that probably would not work well in modern times, but
no.
But yeah, okay, but who knows?
No, but this is a real story. It didn't last long, but you know, he did have a thing for Jimmy Olsen.
Oh boy, that is very interesting. But yeah,
so
sometimes I believe, let's see, but yeah, sometimes I think, let's see, Lana Lang ends up being hostile towards Clark Kent, but that's very rare in stories, right? She's often a sort of ally, and all that stuff. But yeah, sort of like the first attempt of a relationship, the first love, sweetheart, but moves on from her. Now, this is perhaps the most controversial of the big three romances, as though you are probably the biggest supporter that I know of this one, is the relationship with Superman with Wonder Woman.
Which everyone believes New 52 is the first time they've done this. It's not. It really isn't. They did this in the Silver Age too. They did this in Modern Age too.
Let's see, fair enough. But yeah. Often she's like she's the closest to having the same being powers that's not related to it. That ends up not being related to.
Yeah. I don't know why everybody hates Wonder Woman being with Superman. I mean, I hear every excuse under the sun. Oh, it's because it's so cliche. When is the last time? You know what? Fine. Let me tell you about cliche. How many superhero stories, whether Marvel or DC, where you have a superpowered alien that's almost like a god mixing in with a human?
Nearly every single one.
Yeah. Oh, so what's more cliche?
Let's see. My biggest understanding is that I think some feel like this might, conflict with the two separate solo titles, at least. I'm not sure if that's the case. Or they prefer it when they have their own, love interests created from their own sort of lore and mythology.
Oh no, they just want Wonder Woman to be with Batman.
Oh
Because
yeah,
again, because of the stupid cartoon. Doesn't exist anywhere else, but because of the damn cartoon, you want Wonder Woman to be with Batman. Get out of here. Especially when Batman fucks everything that has legs.
oh boy.
Oh,
That
I'm Bruce Wayne and I like you. Let me tell you my big secret.
see, Bruce Timm has some very strange ships with Batman. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah.
That's a bit, yeah. But yeah, she's often like, from my understanding, this relationship often does in fact they are very similar in terms of work, superheroing and abilities and stuff. Not to mention that they don't have to worry about the other being captured or kidnapped for the most part. They end up forming a relationship, but it doesn't seem to last long, either due to some sort of minor differences or something. And they usually go back to their love interests, or such as Superman with Lois Lane, and I believe Wonder Woman goes with Steve Trevor, or maybe one of the other Amazons if they want to go a bit more LGBT with Wonder Woman.
There's multiples.
Yeah, but
So you got Kingdom Come, where it's an older Superman, older heroes, and Superman and Wonder Woman end up together at the end, but this is like years after everyone that they knew, all the humans die, essentially. So Steve is dead, Lois Lane's dead, and they decide to hook up because they're essentially immortal. Now, some people are like, well, doesn't Superman have gray in his hair? Well, yeah, but it's been like canonized now that they admit that the gray is merely a facade.
Okay.
That he put it in his hair to make himself look like he ages.
Fair enough.
Not that he actually does. Which is an interesting story in that, but I don't know if you want to talk about that, but we can talk about that a little bit later. But like I said, you got modern age. You got pre-crisis did this. You got modern age where Superman and Wonder Woman fought with Thor. Yes, Thor.
That
Thor.
was Justice League and the Avengers crossover comic book that you won't see in any days like. That's the one that tried to get every member of the Avengers and everyone of the Justice League at the time in that comic book, right?
Actually, no.
Okay.
Not this one. Not the Marvel Avengers crossover.
Okay, but the actual Thor.
Yeah, the actual Norse mythology god.
Okay. Which you probably don't often see in DC due to the fact that Marvel has made him one of their superheroes. But yeah, go on.
Yeah. So, and Superman lifted the hammer in that version too. So don't kid yourself. But he fought with them for 1,000 years. 1,000 years. And there's a scene where it's some downtime, and Wonder Woman confesses her feelings for him, and Superman's like, while I appreciate it, I still have my heart set on Lois, and it's always been there that Wonder Woman loves Superman or is in love with him, but she knows that most versions of him don't love her, so she kind of just keeps it that way. She's happy just being around him, kind of thing. And since these are two immortal beings, after all, you never know what kind of timeline it is and anything like that. But still, I don't know why people hate this pairing so much. Why they're like, oh, why does Wonder Woman have to be with Superman? It's not the first time, guys. It really isn't. You read the comics, Batman and Wonder Woman never happens in the comics. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
Yeah, and so funny enough, I'm surprised that then, let's say, after the DC animated universe, there's never been a comic book that tries to get them to hook up together.
Yeah,
I have to admit, I'm a bit surprised that with, let's see, if you did it in the most popular animated versions of, let's see, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and yet your comic books never attempt to do let's see, Batman and Wonder Woman relationship, but
because Batman is not good with relationships.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And even he admits it.
No, funny enough, he ends up being the one that has a kid before anyone else. But
maybe I should be like some of you people.
I know.
Wonder Woman and Batman. What? He has to be with Selena Kyle. There's nobody else that he could be with.
That's it, but yeah. But yeah, let's see. But yeah, I do find it ironic that one thing I often hear when this one go out of context is like but you know how most people and would see Marvel editors and some Spider-Man writers are like, "Ooh, Spider-Man should not have kids." Well, freaking Batman has a son.
Oh yeah, and he's a horrible dad.
But yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty certain Peter Parker and of course Clark Kent are probably more fitted to be fathers. But yeah, but let's see. Going back on topic, with like one thing I kind of want to talk about. I think another thing that is usually against Wonder Woman's disadvantages when you do get Elseworld stories of Superman with Wonder Woman. It's usually an evil Superman, such as the Red Sun Superman and the Injustice Superman. And I think also the evil version of the DC characters, Power Man with that former Superwoman, who I think is so it's like you tend to usually get the Wonder Woman with Superman, who usually ends up being evil. I think that also goes a bit against her.
Yeah, everybody wants to make every other hero evil, but Batman. Like Batman always has to be the good guy, no matter what. I'm like,
unless he's Owlman. Sorry, just wanted to bring that guy up. But go on.
But that's just my point.
But yeah, we'll get to the Batman stuff a bit later. But anyway, so are there any other love interests? You mentioned the mermaid, but is anyone else?
Nothing significant.
Fair enough. Is there anything more you want to say on Wonder Woman, or have you said everything you want to say on the Superman Wonder Woman relationship?
The only thing I want to say is that the Superman Lois Lane story has been done so many times, and for once, I just want to see a successful Superman Wonder Woman story.
Even if it's an Elseworld story, right?
Even if it's an Elseworlds, I just want to see one, just once. Them have a kid, them be happy, them even if it's just one of those, Lois Lane dies and then Superman moves on kind of thing, and understands that, she's gone and that doesn't mean he needs to stop living his life kind of thing. Like what happened in Kingdom Come. But I just want to see that for once. And why not? Why not?
Let's see. If I recall, Batman and Catwoman had a kid called Huntress in one of the different Earths, I believe, right?
Yeah. I mean, Batman can have multiple love interests. Why can't Superman?
I guess Superman's just too more of the good boy, while you expect with Batman to be the playboy. But hey,
right. But as big as a Superman fan I am, I don't like everything. There's some things I hate, but some people like some of that stuff, and I'm more than happy to say, okay, well then you go enjoy that. I don't like it. I'm gonna go read something else, but you enjoy that story.
We'll probably get more into that bit later when it comes to the media portrayals and that stuff.
I just don't like it when people complain about this, like saying, "Oh, this isn't Superman. This isn't Superman. This isn't Superman." Well, there's a lot of stories where this isn't Superman, and you all enjoy them, no problem.
Fair enough.
Don't sit here and say you want Superman to do something different, and then when he does something different, go, "That's not Superman." Come on, guys, come on.
We should probably save this round when we get to the movies and stories. But anyway, I think the next bit we can talk about now is Superman's villains. He's probably amongst all the superheroes like Batman and Spider-Man, and maybe has the most iconic rogues gallery of an individual hero. Let's see. So yeah, you've got your baddies, Lex Luthor, Brainiac, Doomsday. Let's see. I'm trying to remember. Parasite, Toyman, Atomic Skull, and a few others I can't tell. But yeah.
Or Atomic Skull.
Yeah.
You also forgot Darkseid.
Oh yeah, actually I do have Darkseid here. Here's the image. Darkseid here. And let's see, General Zod. Let's see, I just mostly got an image. I had to find separate images to them. Granted, I don't have all of them.
I guess we could talk about. Yeah.
You've got all these sort of villains.
Yeah.
Let's see, but yeah. So Lex, so Lex Luthor. Not going to share screen for too long for this one, but yeah, Lex Luthor. This is often the most. I'll just bring up the image again. at least for this bit.
I've seen 3 portrayals of Lex Luthor.
Often regarded as Superman's arch enemy and perhaps one of DC's best supervillains of all time.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor. Often the sort of genius man who is envious of Superman.
Yeah. Because Superman's everything he's not.
Yeah. Both in terms of power and in terms of character.
I'm gonna and stole 40 cakes. Yeah, that's actually canon, by the way. They actually made that canon.
Okay, I have no idea what you're referencing, but okay, I'll take your word for it.
Okay, random, but there was a children's book with DC heroes and everything like that, and Lex Luthor, to help kids learn and understand, they had like, oh, Lex Luthor stole 40 cakes, which was ridiculous, but they actually made that canon that he actually did do that.
Enough. Anyway, there are 3 versions of Lex Luthor of portrayal you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Can you explain them?
Okay, so the first one, he was a scientist, an inventor.
Okay.
And the reason why he hated Superman wasn't because of some, jealousy or profiteering or anything like that. The reason why he hated Superman is because Lex Luthor was doing an experiment, and Superman came in to stop him from doing it because he was basically going to try to take over the world. Of course, this
is the mad scientist Lex Luthor, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
and then Superman caused an explosion in the chemistry lab, essentially, which caused Lex Luthor to lose all his hair. So Lex Luthor hates Superman because Superman made him bald.
Okay, I can see why they would end up going with the more jealousy thing as times moved on, but yeah.
Yeah. The next version of Lex Luthor is actually my more favorite one because he's basically like an evil Iron Man or evil Tony Stark. Shrewd businessman, very much into politics, is rich, very smart, described as the smartest man on Earth, yes, he's smarter than Batman. I'm sorry, guys. It's true.
Isn't Flash technically smarter than, Batman? Let's see. Sorry.
Well, Superman's smarter than Batman, But Superman has photographic memory, and learn how to do brain surgery in a matter of under 2 minutes. I don't think Batman can do that.
No.
But Lex Luthor, for a human, I should say, that has no powers, is the smartest man on the planet. He has like an IQ of like 400 or 500, something like that. Very high. And he, like Tony, is basically a master engineer. Can build almost anything. And shrewd businessman, became very rich, millionaire, wanted to be a politician.
I believe he even became president for a while, at least from 2000 to 2004.
Oh yeah, he won the election.
Yeah, he sort of became the independent candidate, which people voted for besides Republicans and Democrats, because they figured, okay, if we're going to make a supervillain become president, it's best not to associate with either political party, just so we don't piss off, half our reader base politically.
Yeah. And funny enough, Superman cracked the moon in half because of that. Superman got so angry he cracked the moon in half because of it.
I take it not Earth's moon, otherwise that would cause some serious environmental change.
Oh no, it was a dead planet's moon.
All right. Let's see. Superman always ends up hating it whenever Lex Luthor gets some form of authority of power.
Yeah.
Be it, president or head of the UN Council, something like that. I don't know. I just remember that from the Young Justice series, and end of season 2 is like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah. And the reason why Lex hated Superman so much was out of jealousy, but he also tried to make Superman corruptible. Telling Superman, "Oh, with my brains and your power, we can rule the planet. We can save it. We can do all this." And Superman's like, "I am gonna save the people of Earth, but I'm not gonna do it with you, and especially not your methods."
Yeah.
And basically, Lex Luthor is very jealous of Superman because he wants all his powers and everything like that, and Lex Luthor thinks Superman's just squandering them.
Uh-huh.
I do like the Smallville version that they have of Lex Luthor, where they were friends growing up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then,
that is things that sometimes Lex Luthor is from Smallville and sometimes he ain't.
Yeah, but his father's always abusive.
Mm-hmm.
His father, who's also Lex Luthor, believe it or not.
Lex Luthor Jr. or Lex Luthor the Third, depending on which continuity you get.
Yeah, but the Lex Luthor everyone knows is probably Junior, so that's the main one.
Which I believe is the one they ended up using for the DC Extended Universe, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah,
yeah, but he's usually the one everyone is more familiar with, and he's the one that was best friends growing up with and everything like that, which I actually do appreciate that. I kind of like that aspect.
Best friends turn to enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, better than what Naruto did, but hey. Sorry, shouldn't bring it. I've said to myself I wouldn't bring out too many Naruto references, but go on. But
I think one of the best portrayals of Lex Luthor was in All-Star Superman.
Okay. Oh, yes. That's the story. From my understanding, it's the one where Superman goes to, like, let's see, I'm dying, you can do whatever you want, but the thing is, you just don't want to do it and all that stuff. Because apparently, Superman's main critique of Lex Luthor is that for us complaining about what Superman does, Lex Luthor could actually help the world if he actually wanted to.
Yeah.
He doesn't, due to some sort of ego or something like that.
And there's a point where Lex Luthor actually does get Superman's powers, and Lex Luthor has an epiphany. Because
he's seeing the world through Superman's eyes.
Yeah. But not just in like a moral side, like literally, he saw how the universe is connected to everything, how everything in the universe is connected to itself. This is also why Superman is a vegetarian, but that's another story. But like Lex Luthor, like he experiences everything that Superman experiences on a molecular level. He sees all the energies in the universe, and he sees how everything's connected, and he sees everything, and he has his epiphany, and he realizes that everything that he used to believe is so insignificant.
That is very interesting.
And then he loses the powers, and then Lex Luthor like begs him, "Give me your powers again. Give me your powers. I could do this. I could save everybody." And Superman basically tells him, "You already have the power to save everybody. You just don't want to use it."
Fair enough.
And that was basically the end of it. And eventually, Lex Luthor does become a good person. It's a long uphill battle.
Yeah. You often get him to it, but yeah, let's see. There was one more portrayal of Lex Luthor that you often see in comics, or movies and all that stuff. Which one is this? You've got let's see, mad scientist. You got the conniving businessman. What's the third portrayal? Out of curiosity. I'm trying to think. Is it the Silver Age master of the Legion of Doom thing, or
he's kind of a tyrannical dictator?
Okay.
Which he's still like a mechanic and a builder and stuff like that, but he's not really a businessman.
Okay.
That's one thing I love about Lex Luthor as the second version of him that we described is because kind of like the TV show, he's more than just a villain that's trying to blow up the world. He actually just he actually wants to help humanity. He just wants to do it his way, which is not right, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's two people, and this is what's the most interesting about the dynamic between Superman and Lex Luthor is they both have the same goal. They just have different means of achieving it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what makes the dynamic so well. It's kind of like Batman and Ra's al Ghul. You know, it's kind of like um,
Enough. And one thing about Lex Luthor is that he can actually be enemies of other superheroes besides, let's see, Superman, because, well, he's just that one of those big time league villains.
oh yeah, oh
Be
he's sometimes a big villain against Batman too, especially Bruce Wayne.
Since they're both fairly rich billionaires, though, Bruce Wayne's always supposed to be the nice billionaire. Lex
Yeah.
Luthor, the one. But yeah. Let's see. So yeah, you also end up having him being the leader of the Legion of Doom or other supervillain groups and all that stuff. Since
Oh yeah,
he's the smart one, so he comes up with the plans. I think he has a very interesting dynamic with the Joker.
yeah,
Often being annoyed by his antics. He does seem to be the only few villains that's not afraid of the Joker. Since most villains, even in their superpowered, seem to be a bit scared of the Joker just because how insane he is.
yeah.
Anyway, one thing I kind of noticed about Lex Luthor, whenever there's like an evil Superman, you always end up having like a good Lex Luthor, be it Injustice, the witty Power Man, witty hero Lex Luthor. Let's see, being the last superhero on that planet, and Lex Luthor ends up being president of the United States in the Red Sun Superman thing. I think even marrying Lois Lane in that.
Yeah.
But I think from my understanding, he ends up being like the ancestor of Superman in that one, but from through time travel. But we'll go into that in a bit later.
Yeah. Which is interesting because you never see that kind of dynamic with a lot of others. Like you don't see like a Batman comic where Batman's the villain and Joker's the good guy.
The closest I ever seen was the Brave and the Bold cartoon that did an episode on Owlman, in which Joker's alter ego, previous alter ego, the Red Hood, was a good guy.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. The first Joker storyline in that cartoon, since they were trying to avoid the Joker for a while. But yeah. So yeah, you kind of ended up with so you ended up going with that. Anyway, perhaps let's see. Besides, the only other person that can be regarded as perhaps Superman's arch enemy, and probably the second most well-known villain is Zod, General Zod.
Yeah.
Let's see, one of the often portrayed as one of the only other few people that actually believes, Jor-El about Krypton's destruction, but the means of how to stop it, he goes too far.
Yeah. A lot of these villains, a lot of the best villains that you see with all these heroes is they're always just like the hero. They're just kind of more psychotic with the ideas.
Yeah. Let's see.
That's like Zod here. His best portrayals is when he's always like the what would you say? Chaotic chaotic good, I guess you could say.
Maybe orderly evil or chaotic evil. I don't know, possibly. I don't know. I think he's more of one of the law, but I guess that could be it. But I could be wrong. But yeah,
again, this is why I like Man of Steel movie. But
we'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah. But for Zod, he's always about, because he is a military guy and criminal. I don't know. Zod is an interesting one. He's basically the nega Superman.
Whenever they're not using Ultraman.
Yeah. Well, that's just an evil version of himself. This is more like the Reverse Flash.
Let's see. There seems to also be some sort of enviness between Zod, where it's like, let's see, he's a farm boy. Let's see if you use Kal-El as a farm boy. Well, he's like this advanced military leader, probably the best warrior Krypton has ever had. I'll be in the back a second. I just need to do something quickly. Just go on more about Zod for a bit for the time being. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, so Zod is kind of he's interesting. He's portrayed in many different ways. It's hard to go into Zod without understanding who he is as a character and where he comes from, because since he's also Kryptonian and also comes from the same planet, it's a way of looking at the past while also trying not to. It's basically Superman fighting against his heritage as a Kryptonian, because Zod was born, lived, and raised in that heritage. So when you have Zod come along and tell Superman, be like us because we're the Kryptonian, we're the better species and everything like that, and Superman doesn't want to go with that. And this is probably the more successful of all his portrayals. And then Zod ends up being just a megalomaniac kind of thing, like Lex Luthor, but with powers. He's not an engineer or anything. He's just a crazy Kryptonian who believes that his way is law, and the only way that they're going to survive is if he's the one that leads them to it.
He often gets either jealous of Kal-El's father or Kal-El himself. From what I can
Oh yeah,
because they end up being, Kal-El's father and Jor-El ends up being more respected Kryptonian, and while Kal-El just seems to inherit his father's ideals, even when he's not being raised by him. But yeah, let's see. One thing I remember, in the Superman, post-crisis first actual story of General Zod, because like Supergirl, he was erased from DC continuity when they wanted to make Kal-El the only Kryptonian.
yeah.
And eventually brought him back, where he had a son with his right-hand woman. I believe this story was written by the director of the first two Superman movies, from my understanding. Let's see. He ends up, trying to see what, Jor-El said about him, and he did not like what he had to say to Cat. In the crystal databanks things, but yeah. He'll often try to restore Krypton, but usually at the expense of Earth. No, I think you have how it should have ended, always making jokes. Why don't you just try it on Mars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's also really funny? If you would have just colonized Mars, you could have saved your entire race.
Yeah, but it's just his own personal hatred towards, the House of El just seems to get in the way, because he sort of blames them for we could have prevented Krypton's destruction if you only just followed me. At least that's what I can tell.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, so it's sort of like that. So it's like the Dark Mirror Superman when he's not his alternate reality evil version of himself. But yeah. Let's see. There's an oops, damn it, spilled some water. Don't worry, it's nothing too serious.
Random note here, but do you notice the similarity with Danzo from Naruto and Zod?
In many ways, their militaristic background, yes. They're more of the great of Krypton or Kahona through military might.
Yeah.
They must be the dominant, they must be the dominant force of the thing. Of course, of course, that ends up creating enemies. For example, for the new Krypton storyline, that ends up getting Sam Lane to destroy New Krypton, and then him trying to take all the survivors to try and just kill as many Earthlings as they can, resulting in more Kryptonian deaths. And there's just going from a few, I think 80,000 or 200,000 to a small few again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but the most other, big three, though granted, we'll get to the fourth one in a minute, is Brainiac, who's often, regarded as either trapping Kryptonians in a city or destroying Krypton himself.
Yeah.
Some sort of, either he's an alien or he's a cyborg, and sometimes created by Krypton itself. Very interesting.
Yeah. Brainiac, right?
Yeah.
Because Zod tried to do the exact same thing. In
Hmm.
some renditions. But Brainiac mostly started out as the Krypton super AI.
Fair enough. So yeah, sometimes you see Brainiac either teaming up with Lex Luthor, or you get most of the heroes and villains on the planet working together to try and stop Brainiac from destroying their world. Which is fun enough. I should have probably also mentioned that sometimes you get Lex Luthor teaming up with Superman to stop Zod, but yeah.
Yeah.
Just because Zod is the more ditty, more of the version of Superman. Let's see, Lex Luthor seasoned Superman, but yeah.
It's always very interesting when you see all these villains team up and then only to realize that they think they're gonna like work together and eventually like when you have Brainiac and Lex Luthor work together and then it's like Lex Luthor's like, "Oh, yes, we're going to do this." And then Brainiac's like, "Pfft, you. It's all about me, baby." And then Lex Luthor's like, "What?"
Double crossing each other.
Yeah.
This is often why you don't really see, even though if all the supervillains could team up, they probably could defeat the heroes, but their own egos and their own desire for dominance always, Ritzy gets in the way. But yeah, because technically supervillains are supposed to outnumber the heroes, but due to reasons, that doesn't end up being the case
Yeah.
when it comes to the actual fights. But anyway, let's see. There are quite a few more villains to go through, but the one I want to next focus on is perhaps often regarded as the biggest villain in at least in terms of DC. Well, the third biggest villain in DC, but perhaps the biggest global threat in all of DC. Often regarded as the big bad, Darkseid.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. It's, I believe, originally an enemy for the New Gods, but that ended up being cancelled for a bit, but ends up becoming an enemy of Superman and the Justice League as a whole.
Yeah.
Often when it's a big reality destroying event or conquest event, it's usually Darkseid. Of course, there are exceptions, but often he's the go-to for big bads.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so popular that Marvel ended up creating Thanos in response to him, but yeah.
Yeah. But Thanos is a lame duck copy.
Yeah. I think you even have Marvel characters say Darkseid's even more scarier than Thanos.
Yeah.
Of course, both Thanos and Darkseid are very good villains, as we've seen.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
But I think most people would probably pick Darkseid if they know that comic lore, but go on.
If you know Darkseid as much as I do, Darkseid makes Thanos look like, as Thanos would said to Ronan, your spouts are nothing but a pouty child, you know? That's Darkseid to Thanos. You're a pouty child, you know? Like
Oh yeah, let's see. Well, I don't know much about Darkseid. I have seen his let's see that YouTube clip which shows all his moments in like the animated universe, and it's like his voice is just so intimidating. Stop my urging, for I have returned, and all that stuff. But yeah,
that's played by Michael Ironside.
Yeah, but I believe he also voiced the character again for Harley Quinn. Let me see. I'm just going to make this thing. I'm not sure what Snyder's going to do with Darkseid in his Snyder cut, but if he's going to have Darkseid say something, he should probably get this voice, the animated universe's voice for Darkseid.
Yeah, it has the evilness, but it also has like the not like just like a raging monster, like intelligence evil.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll give you 3 facts about Darkseid. 1,
right.
Darkseid is, and what I mean by that is that the Darkseid that you see in every single universe is that Darkseid. Like, he doesn't change. You can have multiple versions of Superman. You don't have multiple versions of Darkseid. Darkseid is Darkseid.
Yeah.
He lives outside all of that. So, if it makes anything, to a comic book, that's Darkseid in the universe.
Fair enough.
To him, it's the same as us reading it as a comic book. So Darkseid from Pre-Crisis, Darkseid from Modern Age, Darkseid from New 52, Darkseid from Rebirth. It's all the same Darkseid. And he retains all that memory of every single one.
Fair enough. So
Second interesting fact. Sorry. I know I'm going to get through these. Second interesting fact. Superman is the only one that Darkseid fears. And he expressed this multiple times.
Fair enough. Even, let's see, so he's not afraid of Highfather, which may be the only other being that's on equal match to him, I take it.
Yeah. Superman's the only other one. And even though Darkseid has defeated Superman on times, Superman has also defeated Darkseid many times. One instance, singing. Superman actually sang a song and blasted him.
Okay, that must be a Silver Age story.
Actually, that's a modern age story.
Okay, that I did not know about that, but hey.
Yeah.
So what's the third about
the third thing is that Darkseid has actually got the Infinity Gauntlet from Marvel and thought it was a toy.
I remember reading that, mostly due to the fact, since in the comic book, in the comic versions of the Infinity Gauntlet, it only works in their respective universes.
Yeah.
The animated and movies, you can use other timelines, thing.
But even so, even if the Infinity Stones were usable, they would have no effect on him.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. But he has no interest in the stones. But yeah.
I mean, he does, but it's just kind of like that's like a fun little toy. It'd be no different from him like using a toy just for funsies.
Let's see, one of the biggest, most destructive weapons in the Marvel universe, and he views it as a toy.
Yeah. What does this do? Well, that's interesting.
But yeah.
I mean, people could say they understand, but I'm like, no. You think Thanos is bad. You think Galactus is bad. Darkseid makes Galactus, Thanos, like most of the Marvel villains look like nothing.
Does that include Doctor Doom, who's probably arguably the most famous of Marvel's villains, but hey.
Yes.
Wow. But yeah, he is the go-to villain, but yeah. He's often the villain that people use against Superman when they want to have a super-powered alien being that's not a Kryptonian, from my understanding.
Yeah.
With that, or maybe Mongrel or Doomsday, but yeah. I think there's even been some cases where Darkseid has tried to recruit Superman, but that never really works in the end.
No.
I do know he did try to recruit his cousin as well, but yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So other
he did almost at one time.
Oh yeah, you need to succeed in that one. Other famous supervillains for Superman are often ones that are somehow weak against, that he's often ends up being weak against in terms of powers, such as Parasite, who can absorb him a bit, Metallo with Kryptonite in his that powers him up. Let's see, and I believe magic-based villains, right?
Yeah. Although it's not really a weakness, he just has no resistance, which people are like, what's the difference? Well, just because you have no resistance to something doesn't mean, like, it's an instant kill.
It's like when normal type battles a grass type. They don't really do much damage to each other, but they don't have any effective damage, but they still do damage to each other.
I mean, like, eventually, yeah, but, you know.
But, yeah. So, yeah. There's also, like, Bizarro, who's sort of like a either deranged clone or a bizarre universe thing.
I'm surprised you're not mentioning other. Like,
you mean Mr. Mississippi? I can never pronounce the name. So it's probably a good thing that he is not my arch nemesis.
Yeah, probably the easier version to say because it's kind of like saying Cthulhu. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Uh, Probably Mr. Mix's Spitlick.
Oh yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Spicklet. Often a fifth dimensional being like Batman, but rather than being a big fanboy, it likes to cause trouble for Superman.
Yeah,
Let's see. Now, granted,
and
in order to make things interesting, I believe he at least makes it so if Superman can get him to say his name or even reverse of his name, it has to go away.
Sorry, I'm remembering the cartoon again. Superman is one of the few people that can actually outsmart Mr. Spicklick.
It's like, yeah. Funny enough, I do believe in whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow. He ended up being the final bad guy in which Superman had to kill in order to stop him.
Yeah,
But yeah. Mhm.
and
But
there is a fifth dimensional imp representation of Superman too,
Fair enough.
like Batmite. So
Uh-huh. Perhaps one of the most, let's see, there's also the Toy Man, who's a sort of mad scientist like Lex Luthor, though a bit more crazy, I believe, due to the fact
yeah, but he's also a Batman villain.
yeah. One thing I do kind of find, let's see, wanted to go on a bit about Lex Luthor that I forgot to mention earlier, is that he's one of he could probably figure out who Superman is, but he just, due to his own ego, just never can. Or just denies that he's Clark Kent until Superman tells him.
there is a comic of Lex Luthor building a computer to figure out who Superman is, and the computer, correctly says it's Clark Kent.
Uh-huh.
And Lex Luthor's like, no, that can't be. Do it again. And it goes, no, it's Clark Kent. No, you stupid computer. Do it again. It's Clark Kent. And it's like, I'm dismantling this thing. It's worthless.
Fair enough. I think in the most recent times, as Superman's exposed his identity, which is probably something we're going to talk about a bit later, when Clark reveals his identity to the world, you get the Joker calling him and saying, laughing, and says, "How did you not figure this out?"
Yeah.
It's like, but yeah. But anyway,
Lex Luthor, Metallo, Mixus Spitlick, Bizarro,
Livewire, which I believe was created for the animated series as an original villain, eventually became in the comics, but
yeah.
let's see,
Amazo.
There's the Elite, I believe, who had different philosophies for Superman of killing villains, which he didn't. You got a bit of a good movie out of it as Superman versus the Elite.
Yeah. Then we
let's see. I suppose the other big villain that everyone knows that this one's probably the most controversial is Doomsday.
Oh, the only one that actually kills Superman.
Yeah. But funny enough, I believe that was his first or second story ever. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly to market a big event, and I just know some people say it's like this is the story you have to kill off Superman. You just create this random giant monster, and they fight to the death. But yeah.
Yeah.
From my understanding, Doomsday gets stronger every time he's defeated.
So does Superman.
Yeah. And it's often one of the only few times is why Superman is the only one that can actually defeat Doomsday.
Yeah.
At least by himself.
Yeah, but eventually the only way to beat Doomsday was Superman had to take him to the end of time.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. So is there any more supervillains you want to talk about, or do you think we've done them all?
There was also Kryptonite Man.
Oh, okay.
Literally a man made of kryptonite.
Okay.
Which kind of proves to itself that kryptonite alone does not defeat Superman.
Fair enough.
You have 3 villains that actually use the stuff, and they haven't been able to defeat him, so...
Yeah. I mean, granted, Nixie, you could say it's for plot's sake, though, granted, and other Kryptonians have ended up being killed by kryptonite, but it's just that Superman is just clever enough and probably powerful enough to at least resist it for some period of time.
I'm surprised we're not going to get comments of people going, well, what about Superman's greatest villain, Batman?
Let's see. We'll probably get to that later, but let's see. Well, I'm not as popular enough to get like 100 or so live stream views, but who knows? You might get someone commenting that on if they ever find this video. But yeah. But anyway, let's see. Have we talked about all the villains we want to now, or?
Pretty much. All the other people are just like kind of like rogue gallery.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see. So I suppose that gets into our next topic: Superman's relationships with other superheroes, in which we'll probably start with perhaps his most famous of the dynamic duo, Batman.
Batman. More like best friends, actually.
Yeah, pretty much they're best friends in the superhero world.
Yeah.
I suppose you could say it's like Tony Stark and Captain America in Marvel, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, but they both want to. Everyone wants them to kill each other.
I don't know. You can probably blame Frank Miller for that one.
And oh my god. I'm so sick of hearing about that story.
Unfortunately, it's DC's most popular story outside of Watchmen.
The Killing Joke.
Yeah. Oh, and then the Killing Joke. I'm personally more. Let's see. I'm personally more of a fan of Alan Moore's "What Happened to the Man of Tomorrow" rather than his Killing Joke one. But anyway, but yeah. The two, I think, ended up meeting by coincidence on a ship, and they found each other's identity, and they've been teaming up ever since. But yeah, I think that is how the two end up thinking. They end up being also the two most popular superheroes besides Spider-Man in comic history.
And Wonder Woman. That's why they call it the Trinity.
Yeah. DC's Holy Trinity. Let's see, and Spider-Man for the male Holy Trinity, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. It's just sad because like everyone always says that Batman can defeat Superman with enough prep time, and I'm like, no.
I'm pretty certain the only time Superman has ever lost to Batman was Frank Miller.
And he didn't even lose.
Okay.
Didn't even lose that. Batman had to fake a heart attack.
Let's see. Well, technically, I have not read Frank Miller's Dark Knight, partly because, well, Frank Miller's views put me off him for quite a bit.
Yeah, but I had.
I mean, maybe someday I'll read it when I get the chance, but maybe if I get back when libraries are open again, but...
Like, he didn't even use, and Batman had to use Green Arrow, Kryptonite, a nuke, and Superman wasn't even trying half the time.
But yeah, besides, these two work more together working together as a team rather than as adversaries, which is ironic because their outlooks are rather different when it comes to superheroing.
Yeah, but Hush, in the comic book Hush, okay?
Oh yeah,
another famous one. Hush, Batman admits Superman could easily just squish him into the cement. Batman admits that there's really nothing he could do.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you people insist that Batman could defeat Superman when Batman himself says he can't do it?
That's probably more due to popularity reasons, but yeah.
The Injustice game. How does Batman defeat Superman? Brings a good Superman over to defeat an evil Superman. Okay. Wow.
So I will admit, yeah. So yeah, you bring in the good one, and it's mostly the Batman from that Superman, let's see, from the good Superman universe that suggests it at first. Yeah. But yeah. Though I will admit, though, the people will probably point out that in the Injustice 2, you've got two different endings in which let's see, with Batman winning in one of them, though I will probably say for that one, Superman did fight Flash, Green Arrow, and Supergirl before fighting Batman in a Kryptonian suit, but
yeah.
No, granted, my biggest complaint, which I could probably, and also you got a dose of gold kryptonite on him before that. My only real issue with that storyline, it's just like before that you have Batman fighting Aquaman, Black Adam and Wonder Woman. Now Aquaman, I could see Batman beating in the one-on-one fight, but I just cannot see him beating Black Adam and Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
but yeah, but go on.
But if people want a more breakdown of this, I suggest looking at the Imaginary Access channel of his Batman versus Superman video. As he points out every single comic, and Superman wins more often than not. Like, I can only think of maybe 3 times that Batman legitimately wins.
But yeah. So anyway.
And more
But
often
anyway. Sorry, go on.
yeah. But more often than not, like, Superman just stomps Batman into the pavement.
Mm-hmm. So anyway.
Superman has defeated the entire Justice League by himself before. Hell, Superman took on Martian Manhunter, Orion, Supergirl, and they all tried to hold him down, and they all admitted we can't hold him for long.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have 3 of the strongest heroes in the Justice League trying to hold down Superman, and they couldn't do it for long. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so,
Are you there? Just checking.
yeah, but the better relationship is when Batman and Superman are best friends and they work together.
Yeah, that is often like. Let's see. So yeah, those are the. Let's see. So before, let's see, the Batman versus Superman never really became a thing until Frank Miller did it. I mean, probably talked about, but never become such a serious thing until after that. But from my understanding, at least of DC Comics, because you often having them teaming up to work together. You often have Superman being the brawn, while Batman the brains, or at least something like that. Even though Superman's smart himself, but you have Batman using his detective skills to find the stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff. But yeah. Let's see. From my understanding, the reason why, despite their different outlooks and things, they both have there's also quite a few things similar about them. Due to them, for most part, their refusal to kill villains and all that stuff,
Yeah.
regardless of the circumstances. Both of the secret identity thing.
Yeah.
And I think let's see now. From my understanding, Batman often has Superman as like his best friend outside of like his rogue and all that stuff. Like I believe in DC Comics, it'd be either for him his best friend would be Jim Gordon.
Yeah.
Let's see. Or let's see, but for like the superhero community, it's Superman due to the fact that with Superman, he never has to worry about him, let's see, dying or being vulnerable. Really.
Yeah. It's
Now, no, I don't really know why Superman often has Batman as his best friend. Perhaps you can tell me why.
It's mostly because of the trust he has for him.
Enough.
Plus, he shares a lot with Batman, which kind of gets him in trouble because Batman was basically the human connection that all the heroes had to humanity, kind of thing. And they used mostly because Batman already is in a dark place and seen a lot, that he's the one that can like talk to the other heroes about the dark stuff. Because usually when people go through dark stuff, they end up becoming evil. But Batman becomes this like middle ground anti-hero kind of thing. But the thing that this is what became the downfall of the Tower of Babel, because essentially all the heroes would talk to Batman about all their weaknesses and their troublings and their mental drawbacks that they go through, and then Batman's starting to use that to as contingency plans, which now they're not too happy with.
And it's like a violation of trust in a way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, fair enough. Let's see. It ended up being Superman being the deciding vote, though. You never really figure out how he would voted.
No.
But he ends up being the one that gets Batman to reconnect with the Justice League in the following few issues afterwards, because if you think they're going to keep Batman off the Justice League for a long time, you got another thing coming.
Yeah.
Let's see. And even there's the one that gets him to like reveal his identity to the rest of the thing. I mean, I do like, let's see, Plastic Man's reaction to Bruce Wayne. But yeah, they're often like the best friend kind of thing. Also, fellow leaders of the Justice League.
Yeah.
Superman's like the good cop. Batman's the bad cop.
Yeah.
Which
More
is
like the worst cop.
But yeah. So, is there anything else you want to talk about with Batman specifically, with Superman, or that's it?
There is an interesting thing about with Batman and Superman is both men are jealous of each other.
Fair enough.
Superman is jealous of Batman because Batman can live this normal life if he chose to, and he doesn't. And Batman is jealous of Superman because Batman wants to change the world. He's kind of like Lex Luthor. He wants to change the world, and Batman is jealous because Superman has all these powers that Batman wants to use for the good.
Mm-hmm. It's like, let's see, Batman believes if he probably had Superman's powers, he could save the world with you 100,000 times over.
And there are a couple of stories where Batman does get Superman's powers, and what happens? He becomes worse than Lex Luthor, So,
yeah, fair enough. That is interesting. Fair enough. I believe Batman's also the most protective when it comes to Superman. For example, when Supergirl first appeared in like the post-crisis universe, Batman was least trusting of it because like he does not want anyone to harm his friend.
Yeah, and Batman's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
not because he dresses like a bat or anything, because he literally is crazy.
Let's see. Paranoia of losing everything. But yeah.
Almost as bad as the Achia.
Boy. You brought that up, not me, but hey. Anyway.
I love so much that I want to kill everyone.
Okay, let's see. Anyway. So let's probably talk about Superman with the rest of the Justice League and just nearly every superhero in general, because nearly just about every superhero admires Superman to some extent.
That's why he's the leader.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he stands in the middle, because they all look up to him. You ever see portraits of the Justice League? More often than not, Superman stands in the middle.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let's see. There's been some quite interesting stories with Superman with some of the other ones. Most interesting, I think, is often the debate who's faster, Superman and the Flash, which they never really reveal the answer to.
If Superman's flying, Superman. If they're running, Flash.
Fair enough.
The DC has come out and said that Wally West is the fastest, followed by Barry West, followed by Reverse Flash, and then Superman is at fourth.
Fair enough. That's the most you ever get with Marvel between who'd win between Thor versus Hulk. Stanley says whoever's writing them.
Yeah, but he does personally believe that Thor beats Hulk.
Fair enough, but yeah.
In fact, that's the whole reason why Thor was created in the first place, because of Hulk.
Fair enough.
To be fair, I mean, he was the only one that could fight.
No, let's see. But anyway,
they're pretty evenly matched. Thor versus Hulk, they're pretty evenly matched, but without the hammer. Like without the hammer, they're pretty evenly matched. With the hammer, Thor wins every time.
Enough. So let's see. Let's see. Do you want to go on to the Legion of Superheroes, or do you want to talk a bit more about the Justice League lot of heroes that interact with
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about the Justice League in relation to Superman, because they usually go to Superman for a lot of advice. We always talked about Wonder Woman and the love interest thing. Martian Manhunter is connected with Superman because, like Martian Manhunter, they're basically the last of their species.
Kinship of two aliens living on Earth.
Yeah, the Flash has an interesting relationship with Superman in that
they're also two of the most light-hearted, if looking at them both.
Yeah, whether Barry or Wally, they're both very light-hearted.
And probably one of the only two heroes that could, for the most part, let's see, tolerate Batman's paranoia for the most part.
Yeah. I will mention one thing, that there was a conversation between the Flash and Superman, was that Superman, they were deciding what was the purpose of them being heroes and everything like that, and the Flash, Superman tells him that we can't do things for them. People have to climb the ladder on their own. And the Flash actually says, then what's the point of us? And Superman looks at the Flash and says, in a matter of fact tone, to catch them if they fall.
Okay.
So if there ever is a discussion between the Flash and Superman, it's always about what it means to be a hero.
Fair enough.
And you also got Captain Marvel or Shazam now, I guess.
Yeah. Who's
Who?
sort of the magic version of Superman, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he wasn't originally a DC hero, and DC kind of bought him out.
Yeah, and I think they originally tried to sue the comic book company that had him at first because they thought he was a rip-off of Superman.
He was.
But to be fair, most superhero universes that created end up having a parody or rip-off of Superman, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to be the strongest.
Yeah, and yeah, ended up being like he was a kid that idolized Superman, then gained powers, and they fight sometimes with each other.
They team up together, I believe. I mean, the most famous story I can think of is that Thunder one, and when you have them interacting for the first time, instead of fighting each other, they team up. But then Billy Batson's best friend gets killed, and Superman starts to question him, and then learns that, oh, he's a 10-year-old boy, and then goes to the wizard that gave his powers. The wizard says, perhaps maybe you could guide him.
Yeah,
I can't remember the name of the storyline, but I just remember that one.
Yeah. It's kind of like a parent to a kid kind of relationship between him and Shazam.
Mm-hmm. In many ways, it's like, what if you're a little kid who throws Superman, but then gains the powers, and you don't know what to do with them? You go to Superman.
Yeah. But even Superman and Shazam disagree about things, so.
I believe Superman also has like a friendly relationship with with Batman's sidekicks for the most part. Right? So like Dick Grayson, right?
Yeah, especially Dick Grayson.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why he got the Nightwing persona. Because Nightwing was an old Kryptonian hero in the Kryptonian lore, and then when Dick idolized Superman for a lot of things, and then when he became his own person, he wanted to idolize both the people that had the greatest influence on him, which is Superman and Batman. So he took on Nightwing to pay homage to Superman and be the hero that he was off of Batman. So
let's see. And Superman is often also understanding of sometimes their own frustrations with Batman, besides maybe Alfred.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm a bit curious. What's like his relationship with Damien? I mean, does he see him as like a bit of a temper tantrum brat, or is he a bit tolerant of him? It's like, I don't know.
They don't have much interactions, but their kids do. And it's very similar to how Shazam is.
Fair enough.
He is with Shazam, just more like picks him up like ups a daisy, kind of thing. It's just kind of like an uncle, I guess you could say. It's like an uncle kind of relationship that when Superman's around, he's like the fun uncle, but he also will discipline Damien if he steps out of line or something like that.
Yeah, it's very similar to like every other Titan. They just admire Superman, the young hero. But yeah.
It's the stereotypical children to the adult kind of thing where they can idolize certain people, but then if they like have a tantrum, then their heroes eventually become like people they hate because they won't let me do what I want. Well, of course, because you're just being a baby. Like you don't know what you're doing, and then there comes a time where like there'll always be a story where they throw a tantrum. And then the kid character will, like Damien or his own kid or anybody like that, will do something, and then they realize that, oh my god, they were right the whole time. And it's beautiful because Superman ends up becoming the more understanding parent, I should say, role for him. Like when there was a planet blowing up, and then Superman's kid is, like reflecting upon it. And he's just like, I don't understand that. I know what I saw was terrible and horrible, and I could have stopped it and I didn't. I messed up. And he's like, well, yeah, that's gonna happen, son. The thing you got to do is you just got to learn from your mistakes and keep going. He goes, but at the same time, I thought the destruction was very beautiful, and I had to like be in awe of it. And he's like, yeah, I get those feelings too, because the way the natural order of things happens, there is some beauty even in destruction and evil. There's a bit of a beauty to it. So it's great stories like that of like a father and son relationships.
Fair enough. So anyway, should we now talk about the Legion of Superheroes? I do not have an image for them, but I just remembered them just as I end up completing all the images. They're often Superman's old friends from the future. From what I can tell. They're often like his first hint of how much of an icon the guy becomes.
Yeah. The Legion, you got a Legion of Heroes. There also can be the Crime Syndicate. There's many different forms of them.
Yeah, but in many ways, it's like they view Superman as this iconic legacy, while Superman's just like a bit bizarre by their future appearances, from what I can tell. Just how much they seem to know about him. Well, funny enough, I think the most interesting relationship he ends up having with the Legion of Superheroes is with Brainiac's own descendant, Brainiac 5. Due to the fact that this is like the descendant of one of his biggest enemies of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And yet, Brainiac 5 values Superman's friendship with him quite a bit, from what I can tell. Granted, I've only really seen the Legion of Superheroes cartoon, which only ran for 2 seasons before being cancelled.
Yeah, it's interesting to see a version of Brainiac in a way, like actually be a good guy.
Yeah, instead of being like an alternative universe where you have the villains being good guys and the heroes being bad guys. But yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose it's an interesting of like living up, having to deal with the legacy of a villain.
Yeah.
And you're being judged for your own, let's say, relatives' actions. But yeah.
It's home versus heritage, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's always the story of home versus heritage.
Yep. So, like, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They're often also the ones that help Superman train his powers when they put them into the continuity, if I recall, right?
Yeah. Mongol the Second.
Okay, that's interesting. Anyway.
It was the son of Mongol the First that Superman defeated on Warworld.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, I'm wondering if I should save this for later, but do you want to talk about Superman's interactions with Marvel heroes whenever they do a crossover? Or would you rather that be in for like the...
Which one?
Let's see, the two I can think of is like the ones that are often regarded as most similar to Superman in terms of ideals. Captain America and Spider-Man.
Well, I mean, we could talk about that, but Superman and Spider-Man have a very good relationship.
Yeah.
It just started out awkward.
Yeah. They end up, let's see, I believe they had their first interaction, a crossover, which is probably not canon really in either of their timelines, with like Marvel and DC back when they allowed crossovers with each other, and then studios then become petty rivals and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see, you ended up having them both going to like some sort of newspaper convention with their respective love interests, Mary Jane and Lois Lane, as dates and stuff.
Yep.
Having like Dr. Octopus and Lex Luthor because, well, Green Goblin was dead at the time. Teaming up to destroy the world, having them fight each other at first and then teaming up and all that stuff. But those two heroes are very similar in ideals. And
there's a big amount of respect with Superman and Thor, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I believe in like the JLA and Avengers crossover event. You had Superman holding Thor's hammer.
Yeah. He lifted it briefly and then couldn't do it. And I still considered it a cheat, but that's just me.
Yeah. Also, he ended up wielding Captain America's shield, which is very interesting because, in many ways, Captain America and Superman are both regarded as men out of their time.
Yeah.
The world's become more cynical and all that stuff, while they're the idealists.
I do like how just some random guy portrayed it.
Mm-hmm.
That was my favorite.
Uh-huh. Let's see. Fine enough.
We're both aliens in love with mortals, but only I am worthy enough to lift Mjolnir. Oh, you mean this? No one liketh a smartass. And you see Superman holding it.
Fine enough. I do remember when the Avengers first came out, they ended up having a bit of Captain America and Superman ended up having a bit of a clash. Superman accusing the heroes of Marvel for not doing enough for their planet, while Captain America accuses them of being, being sort of like forcing the world to be a bit hero worship towards them. Though they both come to a bit understanding of each other's point of views, with like sometimes Cap feels like he could do more, while Superman sometimes wonder if he's perhaps maybe having people rely on him too much.
Yeah, they mostly have Captain America fight Batman, though.
Yeah. Mostly due to the fact that in terms of power and scale, Thor is more of the better choice to fight Superman, while
Yeah. But Superman beat them both.
Yeah.
Beat them easily with this pre-crisis version. It was a little bit more of a fight in the modern age version, but still, he still won.
But yeah. But we're probably not going to end up seeing a DC Extended Universe or MCU crossover anytime soon, people.
No.
Because these two studios, because Warner Brothers and Disney do not have the best working relationship.
Yeah. And many people will argue that it's like, oh, it's not based on powers, it was based on fan vote. Well, but the fans have spoken, you know?
Oh, yeah, I believe it was Hulk versus Superman for that one, but yeah.
And
anyway.
Superman kicked his ass.
Yeah. Anyway, I suppose we should now get to the juicy part, his history in the comics and his most famous stories. Any particular stories you want to talk about?
Superman Birthright.
Okay. That's one of the origin stories of our core, right?
Yes. It was kind of a rewriting modern age of Superman.
I believe there are 3 different witty rewriting origins, like Superman's Secret Origins and I think Man of Steel. Or something like that. Or, I don't know, that's a comic book named Man of Steel something.
Yeah.
But, talk about Birthright.
Birthright's probably the more famous one because not only was the Man of Steel movie based off more on it, but it showed more how Superman started out.
I see.
And there's a lot of I have my copy here somewhere, but you know, it was interesting hearing or reading the comic and seeing Superman see how humanity really is. How, you know, because the story starts off with him in Africa, and learning about and being the reporter and learning all about like the civil war that's going on there, the world leaders, and you know he's learning like he could save everybody, but he's like the one of the leaders in Africa is like, you know, sometimes some of us have to die to prove that we're right and to prove that we could be better people. So being a martyr sometimes is necessary, and Superman has to has accepted that that fact in some cases. And it can get pretty dark, but Superman is still the good person that he is. Like there's a moment where he has the terrorists that killed all these people and a little girl and everything like that, and he has them basically tied up, and Superman grabs the guy's gun, points at him, fires the gun, you know, and the guy's freaking out scared, and Superman fires the gun and then instantly stops the bullet right in front of his face. Like that. You might think that's pretty dark, but then Superman goes, now you know exactly how that little girl felt, and you're going to live with that for the rest of your life.
Okay.
And I thought that was powerful.
Fair enough. Let's see.
But it's also the story of what his symbol meant, how he got his costume, how he came up with the Clark Kent demeanor and persona. You know, I explain like how he hunches over, how he, you know, wears glasses to hide his eyes pigments and everything like that. And surprisingly, it makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
And people have tested this out, like all the methods that they in that comic, they have tested it out, and it actually is very foolproof because they even had Henry Cavill do it, where he dressed up in that same way and no one recognized him.
Wow.
Yeah. Christopher Reeve did it, and nobody recognized him. So he walked in the Superman costume, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's him!" Then he came in a different outfit, looking more like Clark Kent, and nobody recognized him. He blended in. So when people say, "Oh, it's so stupid," he changed it. No, there's a lot more change to it.
It's just that I think it's for the most part, it's just the fact that you usually get like cartoons with like simple designs. They don't try to do all these detailed and different looks for the most part.
Yeah, like the cartoon, the animated series, it kind of doesn't do this well. But if you really look at all the other ones, like All Star Superman, you'll see him like hunched over, acting all weak, pretending he can't do anything, those kind of things. And it even fools Lex Luthor, and he's the smartest man. And Lex Luthor's even like, "Oh, see, that's like you, Clark. It's unlike that Superman. You know what it means to be human and understand the weakness that it is, our frailty as a human being." And it's like, you don't even know who you're talking to.
But yeah. So it's like, yeah, I think it's mostly due to animation's budget thing. It's often why you have characters wearing the same looks and never really changing it. Except maybe if you're like someone that's very detailed, like Odo with One Piece. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, let's see some other famous stories of Superman. Let's see. What other storylines would you, Fritzy, recommend people to look at?
What kind of things are they looking for?
How about we talk about some of the how about we talk about something, let's see, what would you say like the best, let's see, Superman leading Justice League, or is like, what do you think is like his best ones against like his biggest villains and all that stuff? Or like his Batman, if you want.
All-Star Superman.
Star Superman.
He faces several villains and really shows why he's Superman.
That's the one in which one of the few storylines in which Superman is going to die, if I recall.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he uses the rest of his time to try and do as much as he can for the Earth before he goes.
Yes. And cures cancer.
From my understanding, the All-Star... From my understanding for the All-Star Super Ritzy continuity thing, it's supposed to be DC's version of doing the Ultimate Universe, but that ended up being scrapped after Frank Miller did All-Star Batman and Robin.
Yeah. Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's a good story.
Yeah, I do have that, but I have not fully read it, but yeah.
Kingdom Come, that's a good story.
Yeah, I believe we mentioned a bit about that one. I've mentioned the new Krypton storyline, in which starts with him fighting the actual guy Brainiac, with then his Kryptonians interacting with Earth, and it's eventually him trying to between the bridge between the two worlds, trying to make sure they don't fight each other, but ends up failing due to General Zod's ego and Sam Lang's own ego as well, resulting in the death of people and many Earth people in the war that lasts like 42 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
If I remember that storyline.
But I suggest everyone to pick up Superman Birthright. That's still my favorite comic of all.
If I recall, that was originally the origin story for Superman, but then became non-canon after they're doing another origin story, and then another one called Superman Secret Origins by Jeff Johns for the post-crisis timeline.
Yes and no. They kind of just like ironed it out kind of thing, but some of the elements from Birthright still retained.
Fair enough.
All-Star Superman. Anything with Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison's pretty good. So if you see a story with Superman with Grant Morrison, he's always really good with that.
Fair enough. So, let's see. How about we talk about some of the Elseworld storylines? I think there's one by the Earth one from JMS. You kind of have like a sort of darker, edgier Superman for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Though the Earth ones are supposed to be different origins and retellings. Let's see. Well, apparently Superman for that one is actually descended from the royal bloodline, and his relative he's actually a relative of Zod who betrays his people. And I think his love interest for that one ends up being this sort of like, I suppose, hookup person, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And Lois Lane ends up being his support thing. And I believe the Lex Luthor for that one ends up being female. It's a bit of it's an interesting take, I guess. No, perhaps
Um,
maybe most memorable.
yeah, I mean, some of the best stories I think are ones that also involve Batman too.
Yeah. My
So,
particular the two ones I can think of are the ones that got adapted into movies: Public Enemies and the Supergirl origin.
yeah,
Let's see.
Superman Unbound,
Hmm.
Su Justice League Superman and Batman Apocalypse.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Superman speeding bullets. That's the one where what if the Waynes found Clark instead of them having a kid named Bruce? So it's basically what if Superman became Batman,
Fair enough.
which is which is a very fun story, I should say, in lack of a better term.
Fair enough.
Um,
I believe this.
Elseworld's Finest is pretty good. Um,
I also like the Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, which I think is personally Alan Moore's best of the main DC timeline comic books that he wrote for back when he was still working for DC.
yeah.
I think many consider it like one of the better end game stories for like Golden Age or Silver Age Superman. If there was to have a finale for that, but yeah.
I think
I mean,
one story another huh?
Go on.
No, I think one of the good story that I think people need to pick up is Lex Luthor Man of Steel.
I think I might actually have read that. Is that the one where he creates this super being girl and falls in love with, and then uses her to try and destroy Superman?
Yeah.
And
It's an
go on.
it's basically an Elseworld story that takes place from Lex Luthor's point of view.
Where he sees Superman as this monster, like demon kind of thing, where everyone
Yeah.
just idolize him. I remember how that issue ends with him forcing the girl he ends up falling in love with, who gave superpowers to self-destruct in order to try and make Superman look bad. And then you have Superman confronting him, and he goes on a bit of a monologue around where Superman just responds, "I can see your soul."
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like in complete denial about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, there are also these are there are also like two Elseworld stories which I kind of mentioned before. One of them, well, I've not really read, is an Elseworld is like Superman. Let's see, Red Sun, in which Superman's raised by the Soviet Union, eventually becoming its leader.
Oh yeah, Superman Red Sun.
Yeah. From my understanding, it's often the case with Mark Millar's work is that the adaptations end up being better than the original source material. But yeah,
Yeah.
let's see a bit like that. And the other one is perhaps often regarded as the best version of an evil Superman, the Injustice games and comics. You're aware of the Injustice universe, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. This is often mostly done as the plot line for like, okay, how would you get these people fighting a game, and how enough would you have someone like Batman fight Superman? It's like Kryptonian pills. Okay, fine.
You know what the sad part is though?
Well,
When I'm rewatching when I was looking at Injustice 2, I don't know if I want to spoil this one.
Oh, I've played the cutscenes and I've read the comics, so
Okay, well, the Injustice comic is bullshit. I just want to say that right now.
is that the one? Let's see, which year of the Injustice comic?
The one that leads up to the Injustice game.
Okay.
I mean, it has some redeeming moments, but there were a couple times that I thought it was just stupid.
Are you referring to when Dick Grayson got killed by the snap of the back of his neck with a stone, and the Alfred beating up Superman?
Yeah. Because everyone harps on that one too. They jerk off to that one. Oh, look, even Alfred beat up Superman. Yeah, after taking a super pill.
Not to mention, Clark Kent was pretty much worn out from after beating up, let's see, Green Arrow,
Yeah.
Batman, and fighting
And
Captain Atom.
and then they forget that Zaz stabs him anyway and kills him. Stabs Alfred anyway and kills him. So this is what I never liked about the Injustice comic, because it's just all over the place, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on?
Well, let's see. I'd say for the problem with the Injustice comics is that originally you had Tom Taylor, which I think he portrayed the downfall of Superman quite well, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just
But
so sick of the Batman waking.
let's see,
I
some
really am.
let's see thing like that. But then halfway through year 3, another writer got in, and then he continued into like year 5, and then you had a different writer for Ground Zero, which is mostly the game from Harley Quinn's point of view. And then you got, let's see, Tom Taylor back for the Injustice 2 comic for like what happened in the years between. But yeah. But I do have to admit, I do like the story of Injustice, of how they did the evil Superman with like his wife was killed by he accidentally killed his wife through a Joker thing. He ends up killing the Joker, becomes a dictator, and then at some point it becomes so bad that the Batman of that universe, who's been the main opposition, as most of the other heroes either joined him or got killed themselves. Let's see. He ends up saying, okay, I need the Justice League from another universe to take him down. Eventually, the Batman of that universe says, we need our Superman.
Yeah. And the Batman from that, are you crazy? We can't have two of them here. What if he goes insane like the other one? And that's when you realize that Bruce from this world is also insane.
Yeah, well, yeah, Batman's always been paranoid, but yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's just funny how the story works. Injustice 2, though, is it me, or did you get a sense like Wonder Woman was pulling the strings in that one?
It does feel like Wonder Woman is the main corrupting factor of Superman, both in like the games and the comics, as kind of things. Like, it seems like the Wonder Woman from that universe, due to perhaps having a bit of more of a darker origin with Steve Trevor, there's a bit more of a cynical view, ends up encouraging Superman's darker deeds.
I'm gonna quote Hardcore Henry on this one.
Yeah, when it's like Wonder Woman, where like let's see, when Wonder Woman should be the one that should discourage him from doing it. Like, in fact, from like the good Injustice universe, you have the good Wonder Woman Ritzy calling out the Wonder Woman from the Injustice universe. It's like, this is not what you should have been doing.
Yeah. I mean, in the Injustice, at the end, it makes they make it portray like Superman was just like so hurt and so depressed and so darkened by the fact that Joker made him kill his own wife and kid, that he had nothing else to live for, and tried to give anything to give him purpose. And Injustice 2, to me at least, the way I kept like looking at it was like every time Superman had a moment where he may turn back into a good person and understand that everything that he did was wrong, here comes Wonder Woman and she re-corrupts him all over again.
Well, I guess they wanted to see whether or not they'll have an Injustice 3 game, yeah, because usually video games end up having at least a trilogy, but yeah.
I'm still so mad that Rocksteady's not had plans to make a Superman game.
Yeah, we'll get more into that in a bit later, but funny enough, there's also, let's see, it depends on which ending you take of Injustice 2, but I think there's also the He-Man crossover with Injustice, in which you have He-Man battling the evil Superman that won against Batman in the Injustice 2 thing. And you have He-Man save the universe from the evil Superman, though.
That's an interesting twist.
Yeah. I don't know, I've yet to fully read it, but I just know it exists. I do actually have the comic book, but I just not read it yet because I'm still kind of need to go through my Injustice storyline things. I still need to finish reading Ground Zero and then going to the Injustice 2 stories. But yeah, I don't know. I just personally like it just because it's a Elseworld storyline that I can actually follow for the most part.
Yeah.
Let's see. So it's like that. But yeah. Now let's see. I'm trying to remember. There's this other Superman storyline. I'm just wanted to talk.
By the way, and I just want to point this out: Lex Luthor, Man of Steel, that comic book series, I argue has probably one of the more realistic Batman versus Superman fights.
Fair enough. Oh yeah, I remember you had. Let's see, Lex Luthor going to Batman to help him out a bit.
Yeah.
Let's see. I suppose that since I suppose this is Batman before he fully comes to trust Superman, if you want to go canon-wise.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now this is the one. This is perhaps the most famous Superman storyline of all time: the death of Superman.
The death of Superman.
let's see. The idea of it at the time was probably very shocking. It's like, would they actually kill off Superman?
Yeah. It was bigger than killing off Jason Todd.
Uh-huh. It's probably in many ways it's probably the biggest.
And this came about all because like the writers were like, we don't know what else to do with Superman, and someone's just like, we could always just kill him.
Oh yeah. Or they were trying to compete with Marvel with like some of their own shocking '90s events, because I think this story was like a byproduct of the '90s, in which this is when people started to realize old comic books were worth quite a lot.
Oh yeah.
So they decided, all right, we need a collector's event for the century. So, Death of Superman, and it sold millions. Probably the highest of the selling of any single issue comics. Unfortunately, let's see. Depending on now the actual story itself is mixed views, but it's probably one of the closest that comics does to a manga length terms of a fight, from what I can tell, because comic book fights tend to be a bit smaller in terms of length than you'd get with most shonen manga. But that's mostly due to publications and all that stuff, because you can't really have the comic books don't have the luxury of being the same length as manga series in short periods of time.
Well, it had been going on for 75 years.
Yeah. Though comics are more monthly and weekly than shonen manga is, but yeah.
Unless you're Marvel.
Yeah, fair enough, but yeah.
Which Marvel keeps doing this thing where they'll start making a good story, and they're like, oh, let's abandon it, make something else, and it's like, you're flooding your market too much.
Yeah, but that's another story for another day, but yeah. But from what I remember reading the Death of Superman. It was a very long, extended fight with double pages, single pages, and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Now, many people have from what I can tell, it's one of the most popular, but also one of the most critically mixed as well. Since some find that as all the ways to kill off Superman, you just do a boring fight against a big, giant, random monster. Edgy 90s monster. But I think the real controversy is what comes after is that less than a year after Superman's death, you bring him back. But before that, you have 4 different alternative takes on Superman. Steel, Cyborg Superman, Superboy, and the
Eradicator.
Yeah. In very 90s edge, and then you have Superman coming back in the black suit with a mullet, I think.
Yep.
Less than a year. So for many people, it feels like they just bought the death of Superman as a collector's investment for nothing. Which eventually, I think, also caused a bit of a collapse in the comic book industry in the 90s. When most people realized that the modern comics they have now, since there's so many of them, just wouldn't be worth as much as the old classic Golden Age and Silver Age.
Yeah.
Which eventually, I think, led to the bitty declining comic book sales industry, which they've never really truly recovered, and which resulted in Marvel, of course. This is probably more of a Marvel history thing, selling their respective most famous superheroes to film franchises, which eventually led to the early films of the 2000s. And then what led to MCU in the late 2000s, but yeah. 2010.
And it's gone downhill ever since.
But yeah, but it's pretty much the 90s. But yeah, but in many ways, the 90s comic book industry in the US has never really recovered from the 90s, has it?
No.
It became a bit more of a niche audience thing, which it's never really been able to really properly get out of. Not to mention, it does do some of the same marketing things, such as tie-ins, different variant covers, and all that stuff, kind of thing. But yeah. But I suppose, let's see. Any other stories of Superman you want to go on before we go to the next thing?
Not really. I've already discussed all the ones I really like.
Fair enough. I suppose the last one we could talk about a little bit more is the Frank Miller's Dark Knight, in which, as a result, that storyline, I think, made Superman at the time DC's most popular hero to becoming Batman, from my understanding. Which, of course, led to the comics 90s Dark Ages and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, because the Batman everyone knows and loves, the dark, edgier Batman, wasn't originally like that.
Mm-hmm.
He was more like the original pre-Crisis Batman was more like the Adam West Batman.
Oh yeah.
And then Frank Miller comes along and goes, "Hey, let's make this really dark and edgy."
To be honest, I think I kind of like it when Batman's a little bit more light-hearted than his dark, edgy darkness, or when he's a bit more of a parody, really. Which is probably why I like the Brave of the Bold cartoon the most, and I just love the Lego Batman from the Lego movies. But yeah. Anyway, I think it's finally time we get into his media portrayal. Superman over the years has had various media portrayal, be it, let's see, movies, cartoons, TV shows, even his own radio show, which I want to go on that one first due to the fact that I think it has one of the most, influential stories of its time. That's probably not as well remembered, but I think it had that it did have quite the impact on American culture. The Superman Clan of the Fiery Cross.
Oh yeah.
In which
Superman fights the KKK.
Yes. Now this is I always found the history of this story interesting because this is back during a time when the KKK were kind of popular in America.
Oh yeah.
Due to the fact that, let's see, America, well, you could even argue today, has some very serious race issues, but let's see, let's not go, but let's see, but we're not talking about the modern day one, we're talking more about then. But this is before, I think, the civil rights and all that stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, during the time of Jim Crow laws.
Yeah. And pretty much, the KKK were a pretty popular group. I think they had influences both in like their community, in like local communities, and even authorities and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think they even had children go to the KKK. They had they sponsored events that helped children and all that stuff, and even got people being recruited and all that stuff. But
indoctrinated, I would say.
Yeah. Let's see. Of course, I think there probably were rumors about what the KKK did, particularly towards black people, but they can never really prove it and all that stuff. But this is where I think human rights activist, I can't remember what his name was. Hold on. Let me just look it up. Superman Clan of the Fiery Cross. Let's see. Clan of the Fiery Cross. You had I believe. Let's see. What was the guy's name? I think you had this Jewish rights activist. I know Screw Attack did a little video on it.
Mm-hmm.
Was trying to expose the KKK, infiltrated the Klan, learned all their ridiculous nonsense about race and their like stupid rituals and stuff. That makes them look very childish and stupid, but that like most far right activists and all that stuff, or neo Nazis, etc. Let's see.
Actually, they were left.
Okay.
The KKK was mostly Democratic.
Oh yeah, because the Democrats and the Republicans had a bit of a reverse back then, but the point still stands. They're a bunch of racist scumbags, and a sort of terrorist group, as you will. But anyway, the evidence he found enough evidence and took it to the FBI and the police, but they didn't really want to get involved due to either their own connections and either their own race issues. So eventually, I believe he decided to go to the Superman radio show, who, from my understanding, let's see, this is around the time when they finally could no longer use the Nazis and they were looking for a new villain. And he just did the clan of the Ku Klux Klan, and they eagerly accepted, doing 16 episodes, I think, of the storyline of like Superman trying to protect, I think, like a few, I think possibly a Chinese boy from the clan of the Fiery Cross. And during these 16 episodes, they exposed all the ridiculous nonsense that the KKK believed in and what they did in their rituals. And pretty much you had, and as a result, you had children mocking them. Let's see, people becoming put off of them, and eventually their recruitment numbers dwindled at that time.
Yeah.
And it's like a story and media portrayal and media stuff like this, which are why I probably argue with some people that complain about, who cares about media portrayal? Let's see. Well, you got You got a radio show debunking the KKK. How's that not for media influence? But yeah. But it's like the one I'm most fascinated about. But anyway, I suppose we should probably get to the Christopher Reeves movies, perhaps the most famous Superman movies of all time. I've only really seen the first one, though I haven't really seen the beginning of it, but yeah.
Well, the radio show just didn't do the KKK, though. They had many different stories.
Yeah, but that's like the most famous one, but perhaps you can say some of the other ones. If you know them.
It basically was the cartoon series, essentially. It was when they just tackled, mostly World War II post-war.
Oh yeah, it ran from 1940 to 1951.
Yeah. And did you know that the radio show was the first one to introduce kryptonite?
Oh, okay.
That wasn't the original concept of Superman. He didn't have that weakness.
Okay.
That was something that the radio show came up because they needed a weakness for Superman, and then they just incorporated it into the show.
Oh, okay. So that's
into the comics.
Fair enough. That is very fascinating. From my understanding, the radio show had 2,088 episodes in total. That's quite a lot, really. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was good. Everyone liked it. It's probably one of the more successful medias of Superman.
Yeah. That's probably why that explains why the guy went to the story about the KKK, to show the people that they're un-American.
Yeah. But yeah. And then TV came along.
Yeah.
And this is before Christopher Reeve, and then the TV came along, and so you got the Superman TV series, the black and white version. Which star, do you know?
Is this live action or animated?
Live action.
Okay. Who did it star, out of curiosity?
George Reeves.
Oh.
Which, if you want to know more about George Reeves, you can watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is about him.
Oh, yeah.
You probably know about the George Reeves Superman because there's a story where a little boy had a gun and came up to George Reeves and says, if you really are Superman, this bullet won't hurt you.
So wait, did this kid actually shoot him?
No, because George Reeves went down and says, you're right, the bullet won't hurt me because I'm Superman. But if you fire that gun, the bullet's going to ricochet and then hurt other people, and we don't want to hurt other people, right? Uh-huh. And the boy's like, right, and that's how George Reeves got the gun off the kid.
Fair enough.
So
let's see. So he pretty much saved the kid from doing a stupid act. Pretty much.
Yeah. Unfortunately, George Reeves' life didn't end up too well. He ended up being an alcoholic and then dying.
Uh-huh. Fair enough.
Suicide.
That's a shame. Anyway.
I like it. Which is I don't know. This is a reason why I'm bringing this up, because the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood stars Ben Affleck, who played George Reeves' Superman, who later on, Ben Affleck plays Batman in the DC EU. So technically, you had Ben Affleck play Superman and Batman.
Maybe that's why Snack Snyder picked him for his choice as Batman. But anyway,
for those who are listening, who do you think Ben Affleck played better, Superman or Batman?
Most of them say Batman just because they've probably seen Dawn of Justice and Justice League more. But hey, let's see. But anyway,
I just wanted to bring that interesting tidbit.
Fair enough. This is what this stream is for, bringing up interesting facts about Superman.
Yep.
Anyway. Do you want to go on to the Christopher Reeves movies, or is there anything else
that's pretty much it for the major Superman stuff. I mean, we got the comics and everything every now and then.
Okay.
And then we get to the 80s, and here we go, bump, bump. Let's make a live-action Superman, but let's make a live-action movie Superman with big budget and everything. But who are we going to get to play it?
Yeah, in 1978. Just 1 year after Star Wars, so it's very possible you could have had that film being like the big beginning of modern day blockbuster franchises.
Yeah.
But it's definitely up there with it's in many ways the first real attempt of making a superhero movie. Which is understandable because Superman was the icon of the time.
Yep. Probably one of the greatest superhero live action movies. And everyone will agree on it. As ridiculous as some of the elements are, but
yeah, the only thing I think you ever see people criticizing is the time travel thing.
Yeah. Again, something that actually does happen in the comics, but no one reads the comics apparently.
Yeah. Though granted, they probably never do it now because it's just how much people like to make fun of it. But yeah.
And then bad consequence.
Now,
movie starring Christopher Walken, directed by Richard Donner, also starring Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, Margot Kidder as Lois Lane,
and then you had
Marlon Brando as Jor-El.
Fair enough. I believe that guy eventually ended up also. No, it might be the second movie where you have General Zod and his two right-hand man and woman, who eventually later got adapted into the comics, I believe.
Yep, Ursa.
Yeah. Funny enough, I think the Zod from that film ended up playing the Supreme Chancellor in the prequels before Palpatine. But funny enough, I don't think he actually likes the film because, he actually went to that film to work with Natalie Portman, but didn't get the chance due to, location reasons. But but either way.
Neo before Zod.
Yeah. So that's where that line comes from, I take it.
It actually comes from the comic book, but...
Fair enough. So anyway, in this one, you had, from my understanding from Superman 2, because I've not really watched it, is that Superman eventually loses his powers in that film, just as Zod is coming, eventually regains his powers, erases from Lois's mind that he was like Clark Kent or something, and goes off to find his world of Krypton or something, right?
Yeah, sort of. At least that's what Superman Returns wants you to believe.
At least, I don't know.
Which is supposed to be a direct sequel to the Superman 2 Richard Donner cut, but... So see, Superman 2 has a little bit of controversy because Richard Donner was fired off of the project before all the production ended, so they ended up changing a few things.
Fair enough. I take it that's why for the Superman 2, Superman 3, and Superman 4, you had different directors, and as that went on, both those films ended up being regarded as very terrible, right?
Yes.
With Superman 4, The Quest of Peace, be going as one of the worst films of all time.
Yes.
Now, my understanding, they also tried to do a Supergirl spin-off film, but that also ended up being a complete dud.
Still better than the TV series.
Okay. So anyway, I think after the Superman movies, you didn't really have any big media portrayals of Superman. Well, granted, I suppose I forgot to leave out the Super Friends, with like the Justice League cartoon before the Justice League cartoon. It's also the reason why Aquaman is considered mostly a joke, I believe.
Yeah.
Until like the DC Extended Universe Aquaman film, but yeah.
But Aquaman in the comics was much more badass.
Yeah.
He's super strong, super fast, and gets to summon Cthulhu to eat your soul if you wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not until I think the, let's see, 2018 Aquaman movie did Aquaman become cool in the public's eye again.
Yeah.
Now, the most shocking thing about that movie is the fact it's DC's highest grossing film ever.
Yeah.
You think it'd be a Batman or Superman movie, but it's Aquaman. But yeah.
Well, but to be fair, people want a Superman sequel movie.
But yeah.
They just don't want to do it for some reason.
But anyway. But we'll get to that in a minute. But first, anyway, the biggest next media portrayal of Superman, I believe, is the live-action Smallville and its follow-up with Superman and Lois Lane, right?
Well, you also got Lois and Clark TV series.
That's what I meant.
Which is not as popular, but was still there.
From my understanding, Smallville was pretty much focusing on Superman and his life in Smallville, even though he has been to Metropolis.
Yeah, Superman before the cape.
Yeah. And then its sequel series was, let's see, Lois and Clark, right? Which explored his married life with Lois Lane.
No, because the Smallville kind of ended.
Oh, okay. Okay, so they're two separate continuities then.
Yeah.
Okay, my mistake. I thought they were the same one for some reason. Shows what I know, but yeah. But
yeah, I would argue that Lois and Clark was more about Superboy than Superman, but
Okay. But I do know that the Lois and Clark show is the reason why Superman and Lois Lane finally got married in the comics. But yeah, but I do know that most people do like the Smallville TV series. No, I've not really watched it.
with that great song with Remy Zero.
Fair enough. I take it around to like 7 or 9 seasons, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it lasted for a pretty long time.
Yeah. I just never really had. It was just never really on during the time when I was born. I guess I was like a little kid, and I never really got into watching it.
Yeah, it was at a time when WB was king of the stations.
Then again, I didn't really. Then again, it took me a very long time to really get into watching live action shows because I don't know, I kind of stuck with cartoons and animation for a bit.
And again, I made the argument that Smallville is led the way to make TV shows like Arrow and Flash and Supergirl because they always have the same tone too.
So it's pretty much a show before its time, pretty much.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
If you're gonna do something right, start with Superman.
Yeah. Let's see. Now, granted, DC did attempt to try and start their universe with Green Lantern first with Ryan Reynolds, but that didn't work out for them.
No.
Which why to this day you do not have another Green Lantern movie.
Yeah.
But who knows, that might change in the future. But anyway, besides those two live action TV shows,
it's kind of like what they did with the Incredible Hulk.
Oh yeah.
We never got another Hulk movie, did we? Nope.
I think that's also due to some issues with Universal and Disney and holding some of the rights, so they have to wait until Universal allows them. It's kind of like the Sony deal with Spider-Man, from my understanding, which is a bit of a shame. But heck, we're getting a She-Hulk Mitzi Disney Plus series, so and apparently the Abomination's going to be in it. So it looks like we're finally going to get some of those unresolved plot lines from the Phase 1 Hulk movie in Phase 4. But that's another topic thing. But the most perhaps this is the most famous portrayal of Superman outside of live action, and is the animated DC animated universe. Superman the animated series.
Yep.
Which is how you got into Superman, and which probably should have been how I got into Superman, but I just didn't really want to watch it because the only superhero show I watched at the time was Spider-Man. But hey, I mean, I had my opportunities, but I was just like, nah, I just don't really watch it, even though it was on Sky One. But hey, oh, what a foolish young lad I was back then. Oh well. I mean, I have watched the first season of the animated series, but I just haven't really watched afterwards. But yeah,
it's a good series. Although they still portray Superman pretty weak in it.
Fair enough. I don't know that it started off with Batman, but and it was more like just your standard one episode of the week thing. With the Superman, it was a bit more story arc, with like his origins to like like encountering each of his villains to eventually with Darkseid and all that stuff. I think they even had someone get killed by Darkseid in one of the shows.
They did. First time someone died in the TV show.
You don't see that much these days in cartoons.
Yeah. You got hit with the anti-life equation.
So yeah. So that's probably most people's most famous portrayal of the cartoons.
Yeah. And it does have a famous line from it.
Is that the one with like walking in a world of cardboard?
Yep. It's like I live in a world made of cardboard. Always careful not to break something, to break someone.
Yeah. Eventually, of course, Superman's adventures would continue in the. Granted, there's also the Batman Beyond, where you had a cameo on that. But eventually would continue the Justice League film, the series, which for most part was 2-parter episode storylines. I kind of noticed. It's like the original one, you had like most of the episodes were 2-parters, with the exception of like the first one, which was a 3-parter, and the final, which is also a 3-parter.
Yeah.
With Hot Girls Race. But I think there's at least 1 or 2 one-part episodes from a Christmas thing.
And then we went to... Yeah.
And then they went to Justice League Unlimited, in which it explored various DC characters, but regardless, you still had Superman being a central figure in all of them.
They focus more on the other heroes,
But yeah.
with the main ones just being kind of like
Which
I
is...
don't want to say guess, but I want to say like they were there, but they weren't the main focus. I would say.
Yeah. No, of course they were of course they did have one or two storylines to themselves. Of course they were the final. They did have the main focus for the end. Which, if you're gonna have Darkseid be the last villain, you're gonna of course have Superman fight him.
Yeah.
Because it's like, who else could probably fight him? Granted, they do also have Batman taking part, but it's most partly Superman that fights him.
Yeah, and then we had branch offs. Then we had Batman Beyond, Static Shock.
Oh yeah. Let's see. In many ways, you could say DC did the sort of extended cinematic or extended universe first with the animated series. Let's see. In many ways, it did also probably. Who knows? Perhaps maybe this is where Marvel got their ideas from to an extent. But yeah.
I'd make an argument they stole a lot more than that, but
but yeah.
Isn't the entire Marvel universe based on the idea of DC?
For the most part, yes. The only thing I can think of that might be not the case is, let's see, maybe Namor and Aquaman. Is it? I know. There's a video of Watch Mojo that shows that DC thought of it first, then followed by Marvel. But there's one case where Marvel did it first, and it was followed by DC.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one, but heck. But yeah. But it's due to the DC animated universe, in which DC has the reputation of doing better animation and cartoons than Marvel. But to be fair, Marvel does have a few good ones, such as the animated series of X-Men and the Spider-Man animated series. And there's a few others, but the biggest problem is they usually end up being cancelled. Such as Spectacular Spider-Man, Wolverine and the X-Men. Even Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes was kind of probably ended earlier than it would have. Because Disney wanted to do it like...
I think we need to move on because I kind of gotta go soon.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get on to like the final few bits. Perhaps the most controversial media portrayal, the DC Extended Universe. Particularly Man of Steel, Dawn of Justice, and Justice League.
And Wonder Woman.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, true. It's Wonder Woman, let's see, Suicide Squad, and that stuff. But those are the three films that have Superman in.
Yeah.
And let's just say the reaction to his portrayal in that has been varyingly mixed.
Yeah.
The most infamous thing being the neck snap, which I think even some Superman writers from the comic books have criticized. But yeah, but you are perhaps the biggest supporter I know of the Man of Steel film, besides maybe Angry Joe.
Yeah. And I think it's BS. I think it's BS, all the stuff that people are criticizing the movie for.
Uh-huh.
You all wanted it.
What, a darker Superman story?
Yeah. You know how many people were like, why can't we have a Superman story that's more like Batman's?
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you heard people say that? Now you finally got one and you hate it.
Yeah.
This is my biggest issue with the DC EU is not even but what they did, but the fact that the fans themselves have become so hypercritical of it that I'm like, you're not this hypercritical with Marvel.
Ooh, I'm not sure if I want to bring this into a DC versus Marvel thing, but I know. I suppose, but I suppose DC. That's just, but anyway, but like that.
But that's basically this whole thing was why can't DC do what Marvel's doing? Why can't they do, and it's a hard thing to talk about without bringing this up because this is what created the controversy in the first place.
Fair enough. I do partly wonder if perhaps one of the biggest problems that DC did with its extended universe, particularly with Superman, is that, at least, let's see. Okay, you did this sort of like neck snap thing, which is okay. This is a different take on the character. It's like, and you want Superman, and this is a different journey before Superman to become the person we all want him.
Which happened in the comics.
But yeah, But I wonder if the biggest thing is that they never really fully properly addressed it because with Dawn of Justice, it looks like you're gonna do it, and for a while they did, but then it went back to like. But then you also have a Batman that ends up killing people, which is like you have the dark. You just had like a trilogy of Batman movies of like Batman does not kill or use guns. So it's kind of like it's got a bit of a mixed reception kind of thing. Not to mention, I think you ended up cramming all this stuff into one movie. You have like Dark Knight Rises, Death of Superman, Wonder Woman. Let's see, Lex Luthor, blah blah blah, building up the DC. All this stuff in the same thing, and it's like you're doing like 4 or 5 movies worth of content in one film. I do wonder if they should have probably also at least done a Batman and a Wonder Woman movie before doing Dawn of Justice. I don't know. You think that might have worked better in DC's favor?
I kind of admit that I think the Doomsday part should have been saved for Superman 3.
Mm-hmm.
Or like Man of Steel 3 movie. So they should have did, what they should have did was Man of Steel, then made a sequel called Man of Tomorrow, and then Superman Doomsday for the third one.
Fair enough.
And and then like do a Justice League movie in that. With them fighting Darkseid. Or you could do Steppenwolf. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's like the comics.
Fair enough.
I mean, we are getting the Zack Snyder cut, so I'm interested to see how that all played out. What was his original story idea?
Yeah. Apparently, I heard it's also going to end on a cliffhanger, which is a bit odd because apparently this is going to be the last thing he ever does for the DC Extended Universe. Which
yeah,
it's like you're ending your run on a cliffhanger. It's like okay, but all right, fine. I guess that's really. Let's see.
Well, plans don't always go according to plan.
Yeah. I think it's DC Warner Brothers DC Extended Universe's plans all kind of came to scrap when Dawn of Justice did not make $1 billion at the box office like they hoped, which is kind of like in many ways it was kind of similar to what Sony was hoping to do with the Amazing Spider-Man franchise. When its second film didn't do $1 billion, they decided, you know what, let's just join with Marvel.
Yeah,
rights and stuff, while also still doing their own Venomverse, because that way they keep the rights for doing a film every few years. Apparently,
but it still made money. It's not like it didn't make money. It made like what, 800 million?
Yeah. So from my understanding, they had a budget of 200 million and 200 million in marketing. So it's like 400 million in marketing. So it seems like it barely broke the even. So it's like I think they were expecting at least 1.2 billion at least, but who knows? So, I don't know. Well, Warner Brothers is a studio, and like most film studios in Hollywood, their main aim is to make as much money as possible with like these big budgets, big film blockbusters. But heck, and it's not making the money they want. Let's see, they'll start making the films. But yeah. Well, granted, I do believe that Superman is gonna get a sort of semi-reboot of sorts. Apparently, it's been reported that J.J. Abrams is going to be a producer of a new Superman film. So,
this is going to end up bad. It's going to end up bad. I know it.
So you think J.J. Abrams is going to probably not? You think he doesn't get Superman? I take it, or you think he's just going to be just your typical J.J. Abrams nostalgia stuff, right?
I think they're going to make it woke Superman.
Okay.
Because there's already rumors of Michael B. Jordan's going to play Superman. And again, the fans don't want this. They wanted a sequel to Man of Steel. Why aren't you doing that? There's still an audience that wants to continue to watch the DCEU, but you're not giving a chance because this movie didn't make as much as Marvel, so we're not going to continue it. Well, okay, Thor Dark World didn't make that much either, but Marvel, like Disney's still going with it.
Let's see. Granted, they may have revamped the Thor franchise with Thor Ragnarok and went into a different direction, which was much more critically and commercially more successful. Let's see. Not to mention, they found a film director that they really like with the Thor, Tahiti Waititi. I can't pronounce his name, so you got that. But granted, I have heard that. Let's see. While there is a Superman reboot, let's see. Henry Cavill has not. Let's see. Dismissed the notion of him returning to play the role of Superman. So you may end up getting a possible Man of Steel sequel, just not anytime soon, from the looks of things. Granted, I do know that DC is planning on trying to do 2 separate Batman continuity films at the same time with Robert Pattinson's Batman and this other Batman thing. So I don't know what's going on. So it seems
I don't know with either.
DC is a bit all over the place. But I think this is perhaps the biggest problem with the DC EU. It doesn't have a Kevin Feige figure.
Yeah.
Run and manage the whole thing, because whether you think about the MCU, whether or not, let's see, regardless, it has one creative vision and it remains consistent. And even if they have like a film that may not be a bit mixed or maybe not be as popular as they expected, you still get people following on with the MCU and thing. Which I also probably say the biggest issue with the sequel trilogy with Star Wars was that you didn't have one creative vision. Good or bad. Let's see, because you had to have J.J. Abrams clashing with Rian Johnson's styles of filmmaking.
Because everyone wants to do their own thing. But nobody knows anything about continuity. And this is what sucks. Everyone always praises Marvel for its continuity. I'm like, there's a lot of issues with the Marvel cinematic universe that people are brushing off real easily. That's one thing I never get is why is DC going through with a fine-tooth comb, but not the Marvel?
Probably due to the fact that Marvel built their reputation in their cinematic universe over time, while DC kind of rushed it. I think that's the biggest problem you have there.
I mean, I guess, but now you're not even going to give DC any kind of chance.
Well, let's see. I think that still, people give them still chances when it comes to Wonder Woman, Shazam, and Aquaman, though. Granted, with the mixed reception of 1984, I'm not sure, but we'll just have to see. Coming post this COVID world, and everyone's allowed back into the cinema.
Yeah,
and maybe after all, because DC has more of a bit of a mixed response with their films, but they still have some hit successes like the Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Shazam. That's ones for the most part being crowd pleasers. And we'll have to see whether or not Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut might change some people's minds on the whole DC extended universe. Because who knows? It's very possible that Warner Brothers might just be thinking, okay, if the Snyder Cut ends up being a big hit on their streaming service, we'll do more DC movies like it. I think that's like they're just giving it one more chance through the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
That's at least what I'm thinking of, but who knows? I could be wrong.
I just think DC's getting an unfair shake. That's all.
Well, no, DC at least are doing. No, funny enough, DC at least seem to be doing well, at least with the Arrowverse TV series, TV universe for the most part. Be it the. Let's see. Granted, Arrow has kind of finished now, but you still have Flash ongoing. You still have Legends of Tomorrow. You have Supergirl ongoing at the moment. I think
now you got the Superman and Lois spinoff.
Yeah. And now you've got the Superman and Lois spinoff, which will be very interesting. So it's like, so you'd still see while you're not having Superman on the big screen anytime soon, you are getting it on the TV screen. So it will be very interesting, and it's also, I believe, the first portrayal of Jonathan Kent.
Yeah.
On the TV, though. Granted, I do believe he had a bit of a cameo in Justice and in Young Justice's third season when you had all the families gathered together, and then you had Ocean Master try to kill them all, but then he was assassinated by their own lights enforcers in order to not get retaliation from the heroes, as that was the nuclear option of going after the loved ones of the superheroes.
Yeah.
But if you don't do this unless you expect unless you can, let's say, take on a full retaliation of Angle Vengeful heroes. But yeah. But anyway, that, I don't know. You probably see more of the, but yeah. So you have like Jonathan Kent, and I think also another Superman son that's original to the show, who may or may not end up in the comics in the future, depending on how popular he is, I guess. But yeah. But as far as I can tell, at least 1 or 2 episodes are out already.
Fortunately, I think Superman is having the same issues that Spider-Man's having.
And what's that?
They can't seem to betray them right.
That does seem to be the case.
Like, there's always something off. I mean, you get pretty close. Like, we had the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, which was pretty close, and you had the Christopher Reeves Superman, which was again pretty close. It got the essence of what Superman is, and and Peter Parker and everything like that. But now it's like, I don't know. They can't seem to get it down.
Let's see. For the MCU, they've turned him more of an Iron Man Jr. or probably try to make him a bit more like Miles Morales, which is not really the point of Peter Parker. But I will say, at least with like the Sony's animated Spider-Verse universe, with Into the Spider-Verse, they got a portrayal of Peter. Well, probably not. Let's see, an accurate portrayal, a very close one as well, with like what Peter Parker would be as a middle-aged man in a midlife crisis. But yeah. But let's see. And as for Superman, I believe you're still getting animated films with his portrayal. I think there's like The Man of Tomorrow that came out recently, right?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Justice League War, and Apocalypse, and Dark Fate, and Apocalypse Dark World, and
Let's see. Out of curiosity, out of all the animated Superman movies, which one would you recommend to people to watch?
Recent or ever?
Just general. Just general.
Oh,
That's
All-Star Superman, Superman Unbound.
What about Superman versus the Elite?
Yeah, that one's pretty good too. Although the comic version of that was better.
Fair enough. I believe there's also the 2 Batman and Superman team-up films.
Those are pretty good. I mean, they're all pretty good. I think there's only one that I was like, eh.
Which one was that? Was that the second Doomsday one they did, or?
No, it was the what is it? The I can't think of the Superman Fate of Two Worlds.
Okay. Superman Fate of Two Worlds. Let me just check that one out. Superman Fate.
It was like Justice League Fate of Two Worlds.
Oh yeah, that might have been the one. Is that the Crisis on Two Earths? I think.
Yeah, Crisis on Two Earths. Yeah, that's it.
Apparently, that one was originally supposed to be a part of the DC animated universe, but eventually became its own original movie.
Yeah, that one's not that great.
Yeah, which is a bit interesting because if it ended up being a part of the DC animated universe, let's see, that would have been the only DC animated universe movie that wasn't a Batman film. But heck, oh well. Anyway, I think we've probably talked most about, Superman's media portrayals. How about we talk about his status or his pop culture before going on about why he's the Man of Tomorrow and why he's still needed today? Anyway, for most part, Superman has been an icon probably still is an icon.
80 years.
Yeah. 80 years, over 1,000 issues, multiple TV shows. And like you said earlier, his logo is perhaps most recognized in the world. As a starter, he's sort of like the most modern myth and man, but also due to the fact that he's so powerful, whenever you get like another form of medium or like another culture's take of powerful beings, you tend to also have him be compared to them. For example, the most infamous in modern day is the anime manga community with Goku versus Superman.
Do I really want to open this kettle of fish?
Well, I think you've made it pretty clear. I think possibly from your NaruSaku podcast days that you think Goku is not as strong as Superman, right?
No, not even close.
hmm I think and I believe you said the death battle videos of those two portray the fights quite well of what would happen, right?
Yeah, but it's not even scratching the surface.
Hmm
I mean, and I have a whole blog based on this, and like everything that that people think Goku have done, Superman has done 10 times over.
Fair enough. From what I can understand, let's see, when the Death Battle came out, you mostly had anime YouTubers rant, I think. The only one that didn't rant was King of Lightning, who, funny enough, ended up actually agreeing with what they said.
Yeah,
Let's see, from my biggest understanding, many accused Screw Attack of being Superman fans, but from my understanding, one of them doesn't even like Superman, and the other one said he preferred Goku, but they said, you know what, but we did the research. This makes the most sense. Or to the day,
but I don't understand how people could disagree with it when Death Battle didn't even do the research themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They literally went to the Superman homepage and to the Dragon Ball Z fan homepage and asked the fans themselves how powerful are these characters and what's your evidence. And they gave them all the research for everything. So if you want to be mad at everybody, be mad at your own fan base.
Let's see, I do think there might also be an aspect of that debate with just generally with Western media and Eastern media. But if you ask me, both have their strengths and weaknesses. That
Yeah.
frustrates me. But yeah. But anyway. Let's see. Yeah.
But we're not supposed to criticize like Dragon Ball Z and Naruto. Sorry. You can criticize Superman all you want, but we can't criticize them, right?
Oh, I criticize Naruto all the time these days. At least until I get like an alternative ending, at least.
Of course, we're talking about this. We're talking about the same people that some people think Naruto can defeat Goku, but that's another story.
Yeah, I never really could see Naruto beating Goku, and then like, even when he was like going Dragon Ball ridiculousness of power in Dragon Ball Z with the last, it's like no, I don't really see it. It's Naruto. Maybe Naruto could beat some of the Marvel superheroes, but I can't see him beating like the DC ones, or at least the big game DC ones. But yeah,
No.
But then again, that was not really supposed to be the point of Naruto. Who was power scaling at least. But yeah. But yeah. So anyway. So other things of Superman and media, I'd say you mostly have most of his portrayal in pop culture is what he should really be. Some think he's boring and too light-hearted. Others think he should be darker and more broodier. But then you get the people who prefer the light-hearted Superman a bit angry at that. So I'm just wondering. Let's see, what do you think where Superman is at his best when it comes to like his stats and pop culture and media?
Surprisingly, the best times that Superman is when he's not fighting the major villains.
Fair enough. Is that like the original Christopher Reeves movies when you're mostly just seeing him being a superhero, just saving people, right?
Okay, well, let me put it this way. Everyone always sees fights of like Superman fighting the big bad or all these things. What happens when you have Superman talk to a 18-year-old girl that's pregnant, a suicide jumper, that sort of thing? There's a fan film called 101: A Superman Story. It's a fan film, but it's probably one of the more easily betrayed fan films of Superman. And he's not dressed as Superman. He's Clark Kent talking to a girl who, is on her own. She's pregnant, and he just does an interview with her. And, she asks the questions of like, if Superman's so great, why doesn't he just fix everything, And he goes, I'm right here, Sarah. What do you want me to do? What would you like me to do? I'll do anything right now. What would you like me to do? And she goes, nothing, And that's I think that's the point that people miss about Superman is that he is human. Everyone thinks Batman's relatable. No, Superman's the more relatable one. He's the one that's trying to fit in everybody. Everyone knows what that feels like. Superman knows what it's like to be an outsider trying to fit in. Superman knows what it's like to try to communicate with people. Superman knows what it's like to talk to somebody that just lifting a building is not going to solve, you know? I mean, imagine Batman like going out as Bruce Wayne, and instead of watching him beat up the Joker or the millionth time, he goes and talks to a guy who just lost his job and is getting a divorce because his wife leaves him because he doesn't have any money, you know? How about a story where the Flash or Wonder Woman faces off against a woman going through the issues in the world, you know, that kind of thing. What about heroes fighting issues that are human, everyday human occurrences?
The only other superhero I can see doing that, at least, well, except for maybe the post One More Day bit until Nick Spencer came along, was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And this is where I think this is where you said this is one of the things similar about Superman and Spider-Man is like their everyday aspect of life, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. But this is my point: is that like you have Superman talk to jumpers and suicide and everything like that, and you know it's and everyone always wants to point out, well, when Batman did this one time, Superman's been doing that. You know, like not every problem is solved by beating up the bad guys. Sometimes the problems, you know, there's an issue of Superman talking to a suicide jumper, and he sits there all day with her and doesn't say anything, and he indicates that, and you know, and she asks him, "You always make promises," and he's like, "If I want to jump, you'll let me go," and he says, "I'll keep my promise," and then he goes, "Can I give you an opinion?" And she goes, "Well, what is it?" And he talks about how he had a friend who was very sick, always in pain, and how they gave up on life because they knew they would never have another happy day. And even though he didn't agree with the suicide, he understood why they went through with it. So he tells this girl, if you believe in your heart of hearts that you can never have another happy day, then I won't stop you. But if you think there is a chance for one more happy day, then, you know, let me help you. And he does, you know? And that's those kind of moments that make Superman Superman. He understands like all the feelings that we go through, and he's supposed to express and show the right and wrong of it. It's more than just action orientation.
Fair enough.
That's why he's the man of tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
This is a dude that literally looked the devil in the face and tells him that I will follow you to the ends of the earth. And the devil's like, you think you just stop everything I can do? And he's like, don't be so melodramatic. I enjoy going to places I've never been to. You know?
Uh-huh. Fair enough.
This is a dude that I wish I could find the comic again. I had it, and I don't know where it is. But, you know, he lost all his powers, and, you know, one of the little kids wanted him to go and save the day like he always does, and he has no powers. And what does he say? Let's go. Let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
No powers. No, basically an ordinary human being, and he's still willing to go in there and fight.
Mm-hmm. It's not really the powers, it's the character of Superman that makes him so memorable and iconic.
Exactly, which is why we're not talking about it. Because I could talk about how great Superman is. Oh, he pulled the staff from the source wall that took immeasurable strength. He lifted a book of infinite pages. He lifted Spectre off the ground. He did this. And people probably debunked me till the end of time about this. Superman, you know, has traveled across 100 trillion light years across in seconds and faster than it takes for a person to blink. He's done it. It's irrelevant. Because his powers are unlimited. It's not the powers that make him Superman, it's who he is. And I can't stand when people say that Superman's not relatable. He's more relatable to me as a hero than any other character I've ever read. That's why he's my favorite. This is also why Spider-Man's also my favorite, because, again, he's a teenager with power. This is why This is why Superman and Spider-Man are so connected. They both grew up as orphans. They both had a loved one that was killed or died. They both gained powers and then they thought they could do anything and they wanted to show off and they wanted to use their powers to gain fame and fortune. When they lost the person they loved, they decided that their powers need to be used more respectfully. They got the great power comes great responsibility speech. And they both became reporters in a way. You know, he became a reporter, he became a photographer for a newspaper. They both work for Daily Planet, Daily Bugle.
Uh-huh.
They both have a love interest that they feel like they can never be with, you know, and on and on and on, and it's all the same. And you know, who's the last one to fight? Superman and Spider-Man. Who's the last one to keep standing? Superman and Spider-Man. Who are the people that everyone looks to when the worst situations always occur? Superman and Spider-Man.
Uh-huh.
And you know this one comic where like Spider-Man was the last one to fight in the Great War.
Oh yes, the Guardians of the Galaxy alternative universe, the last
Yeah.
of all.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. In many ways, in universe, it's Captain America that's the icon, but outside of universe, it's everyone's favorite war crawl.
Yeah.
There's also probably one why I think, let's see, outside of Spider-Man's team-ups with like the Fantastic Four and Daredevil, it's his interaction with Captain America I probably like the most.
The Amazing Bagman.
Oh yeah, yeah. So, is there anything else?
But like Superman, Spider-Man would sometimes go against the authority that he's trying to protect.
Uh-huh.
Because he's like, he knows it's not right, and that Superman's the same way. He'll go against the American government if he doesn't feel like they're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm. In many ways, that's probably the essence of a patriot with Superman, is that he's willing to criticize his own government when he feels like they're doing wrong.
Yeah.
No. Fair enough. But then again, patriotism has become a very ugly word, depending on who you ask these days. But then again, I suppose. But, oh well.
I don't think people know what they're fighting for in the first place anyway.
Let's see. So anyway, I suppose before we can wrap and conclude, is there anything else about why Superman is the man of tomorrow and why he's still needed today? Do you have anything more else you need to say? Or do you think you've covered everything? James?
I think people need to understand why Superman is a hero in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
He's not here to make your life easier. He's here to help you if you fall. He's the one, he tackles the problems you can't. And that's what we all should be striving for. We can't all fight the same fights, but some of us can. And those who can fight those fights, I believe, need to help those who can't.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about like wars or anything like that. That's just stupid political bullshit. I'm talking about like personal like human issues.
All right. So everyday human life stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't make people make decisions. But that doesn't mean you can't help them back up and push them forward.
Fair enough.
It's all up to them. That's why Superman is always my favorite.
Fair enough. And
especially when I was going through hard times.
I take it you don't see that changing anytime soon.
No. And that's why Man of Steel was good too.
Well, who knows? Let's see. For all you know, James, you might be lucky, and the Man of Steel might get what I regard as the prequel trilogy treatment. Mixed reviews, though, seem to get a more better fan following and reputation as time goes on.
But they're just gonna make it worse. I believe we're at the point now that the superhero movies are gonna go downhill. Not just for DC, but for Marvel as well.
Well, I'm enjoying WandaVision, but this is perhaps a topic for another day. But anyway, thank you for joining me, James. It's been fun talking to you about Superman, about his character history.
Always.
It's a relationship with the heroes and why he's the man of tomorrow and why he's still needed today. Let's see. I'm Blue Star Saber.
And I'm James S. Cassidy.
And I'm signing out.
Bye.
Bye. Join me next time as I'm, hopefully on Friday be discussing with, Lucky Chi on Spider-Man. And then possibly a few other streams along the way. But we'll get into more details about that when I get to the idea. But
you should ask Lucky Chi that.
Yeah. Bye for now.